Chapter 540. Yin Ruawe's appearance was the same as it was in the past. She wore a simple blue dress, her eyes were as clear as a spring, and her smile was tranquil. She was still barefooted, and wore a bracelet on her wrist with a silver bell hanging from it. When the wind blew, the sound of the bell was very pleasant. "You're willing to help me find the jade? What I'm looking for is a piece of Blue Bridge jade pendant. It belongs to my elder sister. I'm looking for the jade, but in fact, I'm looking for my elder sister. I know that she's not dead. I know." After hearing that Ning Fan was willing to help her, Yin Ruawe no longer hid the truth, and revealed an expectant expression. She was just a nascent soul realm cultivator, while he was a void refinement realm cultivator. With Ning Fan's help, it should be easier to find the jade pendant. "Is your elder sister the little winged demon that I saw in your dream that year?" Ning Fan asked. "Yes." Yin Ruawe hesitated for a moment before deciding to answer truthfully. "I remember, her name is Ning Qian." "Yes, she and Yin Tianjue are. The two of them are Dao companions. The elder sister went missing 1,000 years ago and Yin Tianjue forgot about her 1,000 years ago. Before the elder sister went missing, she had just given birth to a son for Yin Tianjue less than a month ago. But I don't know what happened after that, but both the elder sister and the child went missing overnight. After that, the life tablet of the child shattered, and he should be dead. Although she didn't die, she should have fallen into a predicament. She shouldn't have died, but I couldn't find her even after searching for 1,000 years. Where exactly is she? What exactly happened in the past? Yin Tianjue didn't protect my elder sister well. He didn't even protect his own child. What's worse is that he completely forgot about my elder sister after she went missing. He didn't even remember who Ning Qian was. He is a heartless person. Yin Ruawe no longer hid anything from him. She even told him some of her secrets through telepathy. Her eyes were filled with sadness and indignation. She hated Yin Tianjue's fickleness, and was unwilling to stay in the Rain Palace any longer. That was why she joined the Southeast Cultivator Union. In the past, she could not bear to hurt Ning Fan. It was only because Ning Fan's smile was somewhat similar to her elder sister's. Hence, she felt sympathetic towards him. Ning Fan remained silent, but his heart was not at peace. Could he be the child who died with Ning Qian and Yin Tianjue? Yin Tianjue had forgotten his love for 1,000 years. Ning Qian had gone missing 1,000 years ago. If he was the child who had died back then, how could he still be alive today? Yin Ruawe wholeheartedly believed that Yin Tianjue was a heartless person. However, Ning Fan did not think so. He believed that Yin Tianjue was a person who had deep feelings. Perhaps Yin Tianjue wouldn't even blink if he wanted to annihilate a sect or a country, but he was definitely not someone who would ignore the life and death of his wife and children. Ning Qian's whereabouts were unknown. Yin Tianjue had forgotten everything, and the mysterious death of that child. Something must have happened 1,000 years ago. Ning Fan gently closed his eyes. Perhaps he would be able to find out everything about this confusing mystery after finding Ning Qian's whereabouts. The only clue left to find Ning Qian seemed to be the Blue Bridge jade pendant. "I promise to help you look for the jade. However, I have a question. Why did you come to the Ning clan of Hai Ning to look for the jade? Could it be that there are some clues in this place?" Ning Fan asked. "There aren't any clues. Originally, I followed the Southeastern Cultivators Alliance to 7 Apricot City. However, when I passed by Hai Ning, I sensed a trace of Intent Realm Qi in this city. Its elder sister's Qi. That Intent Realm Qi was very faint, extremely faint. However, it actually didn't disappear even after 1,000 years. Moreover, it carried a deep sorrow. Elder sister must have experienced something heartbreaking in Hai Ning. Otherwise, she wouldn't have left behind a sorrow that wouldn't disappear even after 1,000 years. However, I have already asked the cultivators of the Ning clan of Hai Ning. The Ning clan of Hai Ning only has a history of 1,000 years. Moreover, there isn't anyone in the Ning clan who has lived for more than 1,000 years. No one knows if a female winged demon had come to this place 1,000 years ago." Yin Ruawe revealed a disappointed look. The 3 ancestors of the Ning clan, on the other hand, were trembling in fear. They were not sure if they would anger this nascent soul realm female cultivator, if they could not give Yin Ruawe a satisfactory answer. All of you can leave now. Miss Yin, come with me. I will bring you to look for clues in the Ning clan. And if Miss Qing is willing, you can also come with me. Ning Fan dismissed the 3 ancestors of the Ning clan. The 3 old men immediately bade farewell and left as if they had just been pardoned. They also announced to the entire city that no one was allowed to stop Ning Fan no matter where he wanted to go. After the 3 ancestors of the Ning clan left, Ning Fan brought Yin Ruawei and Ning Qingqing to search the entire Haining city. Ning Fan spread his spirit sense far and wide, covering a radius of 400,000 li. Previously, he did not notice it. However, after Yin Ruawei's reminder, he really sensed an extremely faint sorrow intent realm in Haining city. That sorrow intent realm was very faint. Its power was obviously weak, but it was unforgettable and would not disappear even after 1,000 years. Ning Fan was stunned. The qi of this intent realm was exactly the same as that of his mother in the illusory realm. I have already searched the entire Haining city. There isn't a single trace of my sister inside and outside the city. Yin Ruawei sighed in disappointment. Your sister had come to the land of Wu 1,000 years ago. She was filled with sorrow there. Even though Haining city was affected by her sorrow intent realm, it wasn't the place where she was truly heartbroken. In the past, when she passed by this place, she was merely passing by. The saddest place isn't here. With Yin Ruawei's ability, she could only sense a trace of sorrow intent realm from the land of Haining city, and determined that it was left behind by her sister 1,000 years ago. However, with Ning Fan's ability, he could follow this sorrowful qi and find the place where the sorrow was the strongest. Will there be any clues over there? Even void fragmentation realm old monsters of the rain world might not necessarily be able to distinguish the intensity of the sorrow and find the source of it. However, Ning Fan could because he had comprehended the memory intent realm, which was the second step intent realm. In terms of understanding the power of intent realms, he was even higher than void fragmentation realm cultivators. Follow me. He suddenly used the escaping light of void teleportation and carried Yin Ruawei and Ning Qingqing. Then he moved 40,000 li to the north towards Haining city. He landed on the ground. The place where he landed was a desolate mountain and demon forest that was enshrouded in blood mist. It was called the Weeping Blood Forest. It was a famous place for cultivators in the land of Wu. There were many bloodthirsty winged demons living there. Many cultivators in the land of Wu loved to come here to hunt demons and cultivate. Outside the Weeping Blood Forest was the place where the sorrow intent realm was the strongest. It's the qi of my sister's intent realm. It hasn't dispersed for 1,000 years. Could it be that elder sister is in this Weeping Blood Forest? Yin Ruawei exclaimed in surprise. This Weeping Blood Forest has a circumference of 5,000 li. There are many mortal cities where wars often break out. Many orphans are homeless and homeless. The Ning family often finds some orphans from this place to adopt. I've checked the records of the slaves in the clan. In the past, you were also picked up in this area. Ning Qingqing lowered her brows and said to Ning Fan as if she was recalling her memories. Is that so? Ning Fan let out a soft sigh. Sensing the strong sorrowful qi in this place, he already had some guesses about his origin. Without saying anything else, he brought the 2 ladies and walked into the Weeping Blood Forest quietly. Stepping over rotten leaves and dried branches, stepping over muddy swamps, there was not a single demon beast that dared to stop Ning Fan along the way. In the deepest part of the Weeping Blood Forest, there was a small pond that was only 1 zhang wide. The water of the pond was as red as blood. Ning Fan stopped at the edge of the pond. This pond did not contain any spiritual qi. It was just an ordinary pond. No cultivators or demon beasts would pay attention to it. However, Ning Fan could feel the sorrow intent realm in this pond that could not be dispelled. His gaze penetrated the bottom of the pond. In the mud at the bottom of the pond, there was a blue jade pendant lying quietly. Other than that, there seemed to be some broken stone chips at the bottom of the pond. When Ning Fan examined them carefully, he found out that they were the stone chips left behind by the demon cocoons of the demon clans. He bent his palm and waved. The jade pendant at the bottom of the pond immediately broke out of the pond and flew into his palm. The warm blue jade pendant was in the shape of a mandarin bird, and there was a line of graceful writing engraved on it. When the mountains have no edges and the heavens and earth merge, only then will I dare to be with you. Yin Ruowei walked towards Ningfan and carefully examined the blue jade pendant. Her beautiful eyes were filled with joy. That handwriting was none other than Ning Qian's handwriting. This was Ning Qian's blue bridge jade pendant. I found it. But where is my elder sister? Yin Ruowei spread her spirit sense and scanned the area within 1,000 li of the Weeping Blood Forest. However, she could not find any trace of Ning Qian at all. She's not here. She's not here. Other than that trace of sorrow in Tent Realm, there is no trace of her qi. The blue jade is here but Ning Qian is not here. She had once regarded this jade as her life. How could she leave it in this place? Ningfan, I beg you. Help me find her. Yin Ruowei helplessly grabbed Ningfan's palm. It was not easy for her to find a trace of Ning Qian. Could it be that it was going to end just like that? I'll try my best. The reason why he wanted to find Ning Qian was not only for Yin Ruowei, but also for himself. He held the blue bridge jade pendant and spread the power of his memory in Tent Realm, enveloping the entire Weeping Blood Forest. He took out piles of Min Luo fruits which he obtained from the tree spirit. There were 20 of them in total, and he consumed all of them. After consuming the Min Luo fruits, he did not seek to enter the dream realm. He released his memory in Tent Realm, and did not seek to erase anyone's memories. A single Min Luo fruit could allow one to experience 50 years of dream realm. 20 of them would be 1,000 years. He just wanted to see everything that had happened in this place for the past 1,000 years. He closed his eyes and sat cross-legged on the ground. The scenery in his mind changed rapidly. The Min Luo fruit could improve one's mental state in the dream realm. It could allow one to see the things that happened at the edge of one's memories. Ningfan had Hai Ning's memories. That was why he could find out that his surname was Yin in the Min Luo dream. Ningfan did not have any memories of the Weeping Blood Forest. Thus, he could only use the memories of the forest to enter the dream realm. The Min Luo dream. In the dream, Ningfan was not alone but the entire Weeping Blood Forest. It was the Weeping Blood Forest from 1,000 years ago. He could neither move nor speak. He could only observe the living beings in the Weeping Blood Forest with his spirit sense. He had become a piece of land and a forest. 1,000 years ago, there was no thick blood mist in the Weeping Blood Forest. There was also no pool of blood-red water in the depths of the forest. The sun rose and the moon set. Countless demon beasts were born and died in this forest. Countless cultivators from the land of Wu entered this forest to slay demons and gain experience. Ningfan did not care about these demon beasts and cultivators. He had been waiting all along. Until one day, a gentle lady wearing a light yellow dress stumbled into the Weeping Blood Forest, while carrying a child whose body was as cold as ice. She is. Ningfan wanted to say something, but he could not make a sound. He was just a piece of land. She was Ningqian. Ningqian's body emanated the aura of a late nascent soul realm demon power. However, she was severely injured and her face was pale. Her eyes were bright like the moon and extremely beautiful. However, there was sorrow and despair in her eyes. Tears flowed endlessly. My child. Ningqian fell at the end of the Weeping Blood Forest with a baby who was less than a month old in her arms. The baby in her arms was wearing a festive cotton-padded jacket. His chubby little hands were still clutching the front of her clothes. He was unconscious and barely breathing. Not long before his death, the baby's heart veins were shattered and his blood essence was sucked dry by someone. He was only hanging on to his life because he had consumed a high-grade pill. Ningfan was shocked. Who was so cruel to suck the blood essence of a baby? Ningqian's heart ached and her face became even paler. She touched the cold body of the baby with her palm. Looking at the baby's breathing which was getting weaker and weaker, she held back her tears and smiled stubbornly. I won't let you die. As long as I can revive you, I'm willing even if I have to give up my life. Ningqian looked at the quiet pond in front of her, and revealed a determined expression. She bit her finger, and endured the excruciating pain. Then, she suddenly performed a hand seal, and condensed her blood into threads. She used the threads to form a cocoon and sealed the baby in it. Then, she took off the blue jade pendant she was wearing and placed it inside the blood cocoon. Your father said that this is the demon cocoon life-sealing technique of the ancient demon race. It can isolate the heavenly secret and lock the chance of survival inside the demon cocoon. Ning Qian's face became even paler. It seemed like she was straining herself to use this technique. They sucked your blood dry. I'll give you my blood. You must come back to life. Come back to life. Ning Qian hugged the demon cocoon gently and carefully as if she was hugging a baby. She bit her finger and pressed it on the coarse demon cocoon, smearing it over and over again. Her wounds rubbed against the coarse demon cocoon. The pain was excruciating, but she didn't care. I won't let you die. I won't let anyone hurt you. Ning Qian revealed a pale smile and smeared the demon cocoon with her blood again and again. 1 day, 2 days. On the 10th day, all 10 of Ning Qian's fingers were covered with wounds, and her blood was almost drained. She stared at the demon cocoon in her arms in a daze, and continuously channeled her demon power into it. The demon cocoon emitted a faint red light after being filled with her blood. However, it could not stop the baby's life force from fading away. Ning Qian shed tears of despair. She was sad and helpless. Her tears fell on the demon cocoon and melted into a few drops of blood. She immediately wiped away her tears in a panic and bit her finger again, wanting to replenish her own blood at the spot where the blood had melted. However, there was no more blood in her meridians. If she was immortal, she would have already died. However, for nascent soul cultivators, as long as their nascent soul was not destroyed, they would still be alive. There's no more blood. What should I do? She looked anxious. Suddenly, she thought of something. She took out a small and sharp flying sword and pierced it into her heart. I still have heart blood. Fortunately, her heart was shattered. Ning Qian's cultivation base began to fall from late nascent soul to middle stage, early stage. Even her nascent soul began to become unstable. She didn't have time to care about her injuries and cultivation base. She just took out a jade bottle and collected the heart blood drop by drop before smearing it on the demon cocoon. However, even after smearing the heart blood, the baby in the demon cocoon was still walking towards death. 1 day, 2 days. On the 3rd day, Ning Qian held the demon cocoon with trembling body. She looked at the red light that was gradually disappearing from the demon cocoon and felt the breath that was getting weaker and weaker. She was in so much pain. On the 4th day, the baby stopped breathing completely and died. No, Ning Qian's voice was hoarse. Her tears had dried up and her body was trembling uncontrollably. It was as if her soul had been pulled out and she had lost the whole world. Mother won't let you die. Mother won't let you die. Her dim, beautiful eyes were filled with sorrow that couldn't be dispersed. She looked at the spinning world in a daze as if she was going crazy. She couldn't lose this child. She couldn't. Her eyes were always soft and gentle. But at this moment, there was an indelible persistence. No one could take her child away. As long as she could get the child's life back, she was willing to pay any price. Chi. The flying sword pierced into her dantian and pierced through her nascent soul. Ning Qian couldn't feel the pain anymore. Her eyes were empty as she smeared the blood of her nascent soul on the demon cocoon. That was the lifeblood of a nascent soul cultivator. When the blood ran out, it would be the moment of her death. I beg you, give me back my child. I beg you. I beg you. Ning Qian begged and prayed helplessly. Her soul was about to dissipate, and she only hoped that her child could be revived before her soul dissipated. At this moment, Ning Qian had lost all her cultivation and died in an instant. However, her persistence as a mother was something that even the heavenly Tao couldn't erase. She dispersed the demon blood, and the blood mist covered the entire weeping blood forest. Even the water in the pond was dyed blood red. The baby in the demon cocoon's breathing gradually calmed down. In his sleep, he suddenly laughed in a childish voice. It was unknown what kind of sweet dream he had. Ning Qian revealed a pale smile. She had saved her child from the hands of fate. In this way, even if her soul dissipated, she wouldn't have any regrets. The baby sucked on his finger and was still giggling. How could he understand that he was about to lose his mother? Ning Qian's heart started to ache. She wanted to accompany this child and watch him grow up day by day. It was a pity that she might not be able to live to that day. She took out a blood-red thunder grass from her storage pouch and planted it beside the pond. Then, she placed the demon cocoon in the pond. Mother can't bring you back to the Rain Palace. It's too dangerous there. I'll leave this thunder grass with you. With the help of the chi of your demon cocoon, she might have a chance to become your demon companion. Thundergrass, oh Thundergrass. If you can borrow the demon force of my son to transform, you will become my son's demon companion. Remember to protect him for a lifetime. If that day comes, you will be called Ning Hong Hong. Ning Qian's chi almost dissipated. She looked at the pond with sadness and reluctance. My child, remember, your surname is Yin. Don't hate father. He has only forgotten about us temporarily. When he remembers everything, he will definitely come to find you and bring you home. I'm sorry, from now on mother can't take care of you anymore. Ning Qian ignited the last trace of her nascent soul. A faint blood light rose around her body. She used the last trace of her strength to escape from Wu country and headed towards a certain direction. She wanted to see Yin Tianjue one last time before she died. She didn't have the mood to care about those enemies. She also didn't want to ask why Yin Tianjue lost his memory. She just wanted to tell Yin Tianjue at the last moment of her life that their child was still alive in Wu country. The dream continued. After an unknown number of years, this demon forest was called the Weeping Blood Forest because of the blood-like red mist. Countless cultivators of Wu land came here to train, but Ning Qian never came again. After accompanying the demon cocoon for dozens of years, the thunder grass beside the pond was nourished by the demon cocoon's demonic energy and started to transform. This thunder grass was originally the primordial spirit of a peerless expert. It transformed into a red-clothed woman. As soon as it transformed, it had the terrifying cultivation of peak nascent soul realm. The woman stared blankly at the pond, forgetting about her past. The only thing she remembered was the reminder of a woman. From then on, she was Ning Hong Hong. From then on, she had to protect the demon cocoon in the pond. She started to cultivate diligently and built the Ning family in Hai Ning of Wu land. She didn't know how long she had to protect the demon cocoon. All she did was hunt demonic beasts and collect their blood. She smeared it on the demon cocoon and replenished the vitality of the baby inside. In the past, the baby whose bloodline was extracted lost all its cultivation aptitude, but its life was preserved. One year, the sealed gate of the ancient heavenly court was opened. Ning Hong Hong entered the gate and tried to find some spiritual items to nourish the baby. However, she died in the ancient heavenly court. A trace of her soul drifted into the demon's sinister forest from the entrance of a grand formation. Spring passed and autumn came. Year after year. One day after 1,000 years, the demon cocoon broke. A ray of bloodlight carried the baby and landed in a mortal town 5,000 li away from the Weeping Blood Forest. 3 years later, the mortal town was destroyed due to war. A cultivator of the Ning family who passed by took away a few orphans. Awakening from 1,000 years' dream, Ning Fan consumed 20 min luo fruits and sat in the Weeping Blood Forest for 10 days. 10 days later, he opened his eyes and fell into a long silence. Have you found my sister's whereabouts? Yin Ruaowei asked anxiously. Ning Fan didn't say much. He just took out a pure bottle magic treasure and squatted beside the pond, collecting all the blood-red water. He took out another pure bottle and used his magic power to collect all the blood mist within 1,000 li. He jumped into the muddy bottom of the dried pond and picked up all the broken shells of the demon cocoon. Then he carefully kept them in the jade box. He tied the blue jade pendant with a green rainbow thread and wore it around his neck. The green rainbow thread was an extremely precious material for refining treasures. It could even be used to refine immortal treasures. I'm sorry. I couldn't find her. I'm sorry. Chapter 541. With a teleportation technique, Ning Fan brought Yin Ruaowei and Ning Qingqing back to Hai Ning. He had long been accustomed to smiling. No matter how dangerous the road ahead was, he had never lost his smile. Smiling was a kind of attitude. It had nothing to do with one's mood. However, he couldn't smile today, not even if he was pretending. Miss Yin, if you encounter any difficulties in the Southeast Cultivator Union in the future, you can always come to 7 Apricot City for help. Miss Qing, Hai Ning's Ning family will prosper for as long as I live. You can rest assured about this. With that, he turned around and left in a somewhat desolate manner. Ning Qingqing had something to ask, but she couldn't say it. At first, Yin Ruowei wanted to ask Ning Fan for the blue jade. However, when she saw Ning Fan's back, she could not bring herself to ask for it. There seemed to be an illusion in his heart that the jade should have been given to him for safekeeping and no one could replace it. Why is he so sad? Yin Ruowei did not understand and neither did Ning Qingqing. No one will understand. Ning Fan returned to 7 Apricot City using the escaping light. 3 days later, he received a message transmitting flying sword from the endless sea. After listening to the voice transmission, he didn't say anything. He split his soul into the sovereign tomb and helped Patriarch Dong Su, who had been waiting for a long time, to break through to the void training realm. Old ancestor Dong Su had not seen Ning Fan for a long time. He wanted to crack a few jokes with him. However, when he saw Ning Fan's lonely back, all of his jokes turned into sighs. 1 month later, with Ning Fan's help, old ancestor Dong Su successfully broke through the bottleneck of the void refinement realm. As long as he left the sovereign tomb and returned to the Dong Su island for a long seclusion, he would be able to become a void refinement realm cultivator. Since everything was settled, Ning Fan left 7 Apricot City alone and headed towards the middle state. Little Martin stayed in 7 Apricot City. After all, her injuries had not fully recovered. With her and Ming Luo protecting 7 Apricot City, even if Moksha Sovereign came personally, they would still be able to resist. Ning Fan walked out of the mountains and rivers of Wuyu on his own. He traveled across the 4 countries and visited many foreign cultivation countries that he had never visited before. He traveled all the way to the north, sometimes flying, sometimes walking, sometimes stopping, and sometimes stopping in the deep mountains to look at the blooming mountain flowers. Within a month, he had crossed countless mountains and valleys. Cultivation country. He accidentally entered a demon tiger's lair. A young tiger bared its teeth and pounced at him, not knowing the immensity of heaven and earth. His aura spread out slightly, causing the tiger cub to fall to the ground in fright. Ning Fan raised his finger, intending to kill the tiger cub. However, a black tiger stood in front of it and knelt on the ground like a human. Its eyes were filled with despair and begging as it kept kowtowing to Ning Fan. This was a tigress, perhaps the mother of the tiger cub. Ning Fan sighed. All of a sudden, his killing intent faded and he flew away. In the evening rain, he stood by a nameless river, watching the duckweed in the river being scattered by the rain. The mayflies that had been resting on the duckweed immediately jumped away and left the scattered duckweed to find their next foothold. The rain became heavier and heavier, gradually becoming as fine as a curtain. The shore could not be seen clearly. Finally, the downpour was like a torrential downpour. Bolts of lightning flashed across the sky, and thunder rumbled incessantly. Ning Fan's clothes were completely wet. As the autumn wind blew past, his clothes were slightly cold. The blue jade on his neck was even colder. He closed his eyes and sighed with a lonely expression. Who's the one who said heaven and earth are heartless? If the heaven and earth are heartless, why were you born in the heaven and earth? Those who are heartless in their hearts will naturally see the heaven and earth as heartless. Who's the one who said he had to destroy love? If all love and thoughts are destroyed, then what will be left at the end of the Tao? I cultivate the devil path not because I hate heaven and earth. I just want to break the prison and protect the warmth behind my back. I don't kill for riches and honor, but for a thought of love and a meal. I don't kill not because I'm kind. I slaughter not because I'm evil, but there are too many things in this world that I can't help. I thought I had no father or mother. How ridiculous. If I didn't have a mother, I should have died 1,000 years ago. Every drop of blood in my body doesn't belong to me, and I can't find her. It's not that the duckweed doesn't want to take root, the mayflies are just powerless. He gritted his teeth and closed his eyes, standing alone in the evening rain. His fists were clenched so tightly that his nails dug deep into his palms, causing blood to flow out. I'm sorry. The rain didn't stop even after a long time. Ning Fan left the riverside and slowly walked upstream along the river. A few days later, a small cultivation city appeared in front of him. This cultivation country was called Zhao Country, a low-ranked cultivation country. It was called the Vermilion Bird City, and was guarded by only one gold core old ancestor. Although Zhao country wasn't strong, it was located at the border of the southeastern continent and was adjacent to the Middle State. Therefore, many experts of the Middle State would pass by this place. The heavy rain was like a waterfall in the city. Many cultivators wearing straw raincoats hurriedly walked through the city. No one knew Ning Fan's cultivation base when he walked into the city. The cultivators who passed by only knew that he was a low-level cultivator. One after another, Harmonious Spirit and Gold Core Old monsters entered the Vermilion Bird City and were treated respectfully by the cultivators guarding the city. If they were nascent Soul Realm cultivators, it would be a grand reception. If they were Spirit-severing realm cultivators who didn't show their cultivation base, the cultivators guarding the city wouldn't be able to see their strength and would be disrespectful instead. This was the way of the world. Ning Fan didn't care about the attitude of the cultivators guarding the city and walked towards a tavern in the city. The name of the tavern was Falling Cloud House. Along the way to the border of the Middle State, his mood had gradually calmed down from sadness. He only wanted to get drunk and restore his devil heart. To die from wine was to get drunk. To be born from wine was to wake up. Wine could intoxicate one's heart, but it could also wake one's heart. Outside the tavern, there were a few vein-opening realm cultivators wearing bamboo hats and coats guarding the door. When they saw Ning Fan entering the tavern, they said coldly, "Friend, the wine in this tavern is expensive. Those who don't have enough immortal jades can't enter." "It's all right. I should have enough immortal jades." Ning Fan walked past the few men and entered the tavern. Most of the seats in the tavern were vein-opening realm cultivators drinking wine. The seats were already full. There was only one seat by the window that was unoccupied because of the rain. Occasionally, there were a few Harmonious Spirit old monsters occupying a large empty table and carefully tasting the wine. No one dared to sit at the same table as these old monsters. As cultivators, it was rare for them to get wet from the rain. The clothes of the vein-opening realm cultivators in the tavern were dry. Even if some of them got wet, they had already dried their clothes with their magical power. Ning Fan was the first person who got drenched. Everyone thought that Ning Fan's magical power was too weak to evaporate the rain with his magical power. A few young cultivators saw Ning Fan's embarrassing appearance and laughed. "Since this little brother is drenched, why don't you sit by the window? You won't get wet anyway." "That makes sense." Ning Fan walked to the seat by the window and sat down, letting the light rain fall on his body. He didn't look happy at all. "Haha." He even said that it makes sense. A few cultivators laughed. Seeing that Ning Fan ignored them, they gradually felt bored and no longer cared about him. After paying the immortal jades and serving the spiritual wine, Ning Fan drank by himself. Occasionally, he would look at the curtain of rain outside the window. Everything in the tavern had nothing to do with him. He looked at the endless autumn rain. Gradually, what he saw in front of him was no longer the rain, but the past and memories of his journey. His heart was filled with enlightenment, and his thoughts gradually drifted away. The rain was real and the memories were illusory. The Void Glimpse stage saw the illusory. The Void Inquiry stage saw the illusory. The Void Pierce stage saw the illusory, and the Absolute Void stage saw the real illusory. If he attains the Void Fragmentation realm, he would probably be able to shatter the void. Illusory and real could be determined with just a single thought. Is this the great Tao of Void? Ning Fan lifted the wine jar and took a big gulp. The sadness in his heart was washed away by the rain and the wine. Good wine. Ning Fan's praise immediately made many of the customers in the tavern burst into laughter. Haha, does this kid know anything about wine? The spiritual wine of the Falling Cloud House has always been mixed with water. How can it be considered as good wine? This kid doesn't know anything about wine, but he still praises it. What a joke. If we are talking about the best wine in the Vermilion Bird City, it would definitely be the wine of the Drunken Sparrow House. TSK. That is the real good wine. However, the price is 10 times more expensive than the wine of the Falling Cloud House. Us vein-opening realm cultivators can only reluctantly drink the watered wine of the Falling Cloud House. Ning Fan was still drinking by himself, ignoring these low-grade cultivators. In his eyes, These vein-opening realm and harmonious spirit realm cultivators were no different from mortals. There was no need for him to obtain their approval. The quality of the wine was not determined by the alcohol content nor the taste. If it could wash away his sadness, then it was naturally a good wine. No one agreed with Ning Fan's words. Only a hearty laughter resounded from outside the tavern. Ha! I thought I was the only one who thought that the wine of the falling cloud house was good. It turns out that there is a bosom friend here. What a joyous occasion! The laughter was still echoing in the distance. In an instant, a man wearing a bamboo hat and a straw raincoat entered the tavern. His grandma, this is really a heavy rain. I am wearing a bamboo hat and a straw raincoat, but I am still wet. Ha ha ha. The man laughed heartily. His body exuded the aura of a fifth-level vein-opening cultivator. He looked around the tavern and saw Ning Fan. Seeing Ning Fan calmly drinking under the rain, he immediately guessed that this was the person praising the wine. Haha. Isn't this crazy Wu from the Vermilion Bird City? I heard that you went into seclusion 3 years ago to break through to the 6th level vein opening. Why is your aura still at the 5th level? Did you fail again? Haha. I have known him for 10 years. At that time, he was already at the 5th level vein opening. 10 years have passed, but his cultivation hasn't improved at all. It seems like he will not be able to break through to the harmonious spirit realm in this life. Harmonious spirit? If Crazy Wu could reach the harmonious spirit realm, then I would be able to form my core. Countless mocking voices came. Obviously, most of them knew this man wearing a bamboo hat. The man didn't care about the mockery of the crowd. He took off his bamboo hat and straw raincoat, laughed and walked towards Ning Fan's table. He ignored the falling rain outside the window and sat down. He threw the bamboo hat and straw raincoat to the side and laughed. This rain is really good. This seat near the window is really the best seat in this tavern. As soon as the man said this, countless customers immediately spurted out their wine and laughed. Look, Crazy Wu is talking nonsense again. Ah! Ning Fan raised his eyes and casually glanced at the man. The calm evil qi in his body slightly trembled. He could feel an extremely strong evil qi from the man's body. Peak Spirit Severing Realm. This person is not far from the Void Refinement Realm. Although the evil qi in his body is far weaker than mine, it is still quite heavy. He should be an unscrupulous evil cultivator. Ning Fan could see through the man's background with just a glance. However, the man couldn't see through Ning Fan at all. He only thought that Ning Fan was a vein-opening junior, but he still cupped his fists and said politely, I am Wu Chun, the Wu who has no respect for the law, the Chun who massacred the city. The name of the man was Wu Chun. However, those who were familiar with him knew that his name was Wu Chun. What he said was completely incongruous. He was practically illiterate. Thus the crowd laughed at him again. Ha! This Wu Chun is talking nonsense again. Little brother, don't believe him. His Wu is the Wu of Wu Yu and the Chun of Chun. The man was not bothered by the crowd's mockery. He flicked some immortal jade to the innkeeper, and the latter immediately served wine. The man carried the wine jar and drank a mouthful of it. He felt very carefree. Good wine. What a good wine. The customers naturally laughed at the man just like how they laughed at Ning Fan before. I haven't asked for little brother's name yet. Ning Fan. As soon as the 2 words were uttered, the entire tavern fell into dead silence. Ning Fan. Marquis White Robe Ning Fan. Impossible. It's definitely impossible. There were countless people with the same name in the world. There were tens of thousands of people with the same name in the Rain world. It was certainly impossible for this person to be Marquis White Robe. The crowd regained their smiles and continued drinking their wine. The man was also stunned. A moment later, however, he also shook his head and laughed heartily. Little brother Ning, your name is really great. It's exactly the same as Marquis White Robe. It almost scared me to death. Is that so? Ning Fan was not bothered at all. He continued drinking by himself, and did not have the mood to talk to the man. The man, on the other hand, became interested in Ning Fan. He carefully studied Ning Fan for a few times and suddenly sighed. Little brother, you have the pain of losing your family in your eyes. Oh, brother Wu knows the art of physiognomy? Ning Fan was surprised. His interest in Wu Chen was piqued. Haha, what do I know about physiognomy? I just know how to read people's faces. Little brother doesn't look sad on your face, but your heart is in pain. I was just making a random guess. Sigh. There aren't many people like little brother. Most of the people in the cultivation world are cold, heartless, and selfish. Those who claim to be righteous don't even dare to keep their closest relatives in their hearts. They stubbornly cut off their emotions and abandon the mortal world. In my opinion, such people are really stupid. The man let out a sigh and stopped smiling. He gulped down a jar of wine in one gulp and bought another jar. He finished it in an instant, and then bought 3 jars of wine in one go. Ning Fan was stunned. He felt that the man's words were in line with his thoughts. Even though the man's cultivation base was not as good as his, he still thought highly of him. After taking a closer look at Wu Chen, Ning Fan realized that this man possessed a trace of heavenly secret power. He should be an expert in the Tao of divination. Thus his opinion of this man increased. Why don't you take a guess? Is my family member dead or alive? Ning Fan asked politely. Alive. Wu Chen answered without any hesitation. Where is she? I don't know. Her fate has been changed. I can't see through it. If I try to see it forcefully, I'll only harm myself. Wu Chen was still drinking. However, after just a few words, Ning Fan had already determined that this man's divination ability was shocking. In the past, Dong Su could only see that Ning Qian's fate had been changed by using the blood of an immortal. However, this man in front of him could see through the heavenly secret with just a few words. He was truly a peerless genius. I, Ning Fan, beg you to help me with my divination. Sigh. Fine. I'll help you take a look. Just a look. Wu Chen could not help but feel touched when he saw the sincerity in Ning Fan's eyes. He put down the wine jar and took out 12 empty wine bowls, placing them on the table according to a certain formation. Then he closed his eyes and suddenly patted the wine jar. The wine flew up on its own and fell into the 12 bowls. The 12 branches of the earth technique. Ning Fan's heart skipped a beat. He recognized that the technique Wu Chen used was a long-lost ancient divination technique. Wu Chen's face was filled with pain, as if it was extremely difficult for him to divine the heavenly secret. However, based on Wu Chen's personality, he would definitely keep his promise. Since he had promised to help Ning Fan with his divination, he would take a look no matter how difficult it was. Peep! As soon as Wu Chen uttered the word, he suddenly opened his eyes and coughed out a few liters of blood. Then he fainted. All the customers in the tavern were stunned. They did not know why Wu Chen fainted all of a sudden. Ning Fan was shocked. He flicked his sleeve and flicked a pill into Wu Chen's mouth. He then used his magic power to dissolve it. It was a 6th revolution healing pill. As the pill dissolved, Wu Chen gradually regained consciousness. He sat up and patted his forehead with a strange expression. Oh my God! That scared me to death. The person who changed her fate is too strong. I was almost killed by the heavenly secret. But it's really strange. I have coughed out so much blood. How did I suppress my injuries in an instant? Wu Chen did not know that it was Ning Fan who fed him the pill. He looked at Ning Fan with a proud expression and said, I saw it. The person you are looking for is in the middle state. The middle state. The corner of Ning Fan's mouth curved into a smile. It was the first time he smiled along the way. As long as he knew that she was in the middle state, he would find her even if he had to destroy the entire place. Thank you. Ning Fan solemnly cupped his fists at Wu Chen. It's just a small matter. There's no need to thank me. Oh no, my pursuers are here. I have committed some crimes these few days. I need to run away. Just as Wu Chen was about to stand up and leave, his chest was affected by the pain. He sat back on his seat. During this moment of delay, the entire Vermilion Bird City was suddenly shrouded by 4 extremely strong qi. 4 Void Refinement Realm cultivators. We are the 4 Elders Buyu of the Great Heaven Palace in the Middle State. We have come to the Vermilion Bird City of Zhao Country to arrest revered Raincaster, Wu Chen of the Great Heaven Palace. This person disobeyed the orders of the Palace Lord and rained rain at will, violating the law of the world. According to the law, He should be brought back to the great heaven palace and suffer 20 lashes from the rain. Wuchen, come with us. Ningfan's eyes turned solemn. The newcomers were actually 4 void glimpse stage experts. Wu Chen's true identity was actually a revered elder of the Rain Palace, which belonged to the Great Heaven Palace. Moreover, his identity was slightly different from the other revered elders. There were many revered elders in the Great Heaven Palace. Among them, only 24 revered rain caster had the right to summon rain in the rain world. Wu Chen was one of them. The 4 void glimpse stage experts instantly arrived at the Vermilion Bird City and entered the Falling Cloud House. All the customers looked at Wu Chen as if they were looking at a monster. No one could imagine that this lunatic Wu, who had always been ridiculed by others, was actually a divine transformation realm revered elder of the Rain Palace. He is a... The few people who asserted that Wu Chen would never attain the harmonious spirit realm in this life were so scared that they peed their pants. Wu Chen looked at the 4 elders with an indignant expression. To a divine transformation realm cultivator, enduring 20 lashes of the rain was not considered a heavy punishment. However, they would still suffer severe injuries. They would need to enter seclusion for at least a few years to fully recover. If he had made some grave mistakes, it would be fine if he was punished. However, he did not commit any mistakes. Thus, he naturally refused to accept the punishment. I didn't do anything wrong. The palace lord asked me to summon a rainstorm and flood the Yun Nation. That Yun Nation is just a mortal country. It doesn't even have a single cultivator, and they didn't violate any laws. What right do they have to drown them? I won't accept it. Wu Chen refuted. They don't agree to build a shrine for the Rain Sovereign in their country. They are unwilling to offer incense to the Rain Sovereign. Is this not considered as violating the laws? A void glimpse stage old man in silver robes said coldly. Bullshit. It's their freedom to worship whoever they want. Wu Chen said angrily. How dare you? How dare a mere revered elder of the Rain Palace be disrespectful to us void refinement realm experts? The silver-robed void glimpse stage expert was enraged. His aura force suddenly spread out and pressed down on Wu Chen like a falling sky. Wu Chen was greatly shocked. With his current injured body, he could not withstand the aura force of a void refinement realm expert at all. Even if he was at his peak, he would not be able to withstand half a round of attacks from a void refinement realm expert. Just as the aura force was about to fall on him, a wave of baleful chi that was countless times stronger soared into the sky, causing the 4 void glimpse stage experts to cough out blood at the same time. He is my friend. Ningfan stood up gently and stared coldly at the 4 void glimpse stage experts. When the 4 void glimpse stage experts saw Ningfan's face, cold sweat immediately broke out on their bodies. Marquis White Robe. Hiss. All the customers in the Falling Cloud residence were stunned. All the cultivators in the Vermilion Bird City were stunned. That white-robed young man who was drenched in the rain was actually an existence that they must never provoke. Marquis White Robe, please calm down. We didn't know that this person is your friend. Little brother, no. Marquis White Robe, please calm down. Please don't kill them. If you kill them, I will become your accomplice. Then I won't be a revered elder of the Rain Palace anymore. I will have to flee to the ends of the world. Wu Chen's face turned green with fear. He never expected that Ningfan would be such a terrifying person. Marquis White Robe. Damn it. He is actually drinking and chatting merrily with the #1 Devil Lord of the Rain World. This is really too scary. Too scary. This must be the craziest thing that I, Madman Wu, have ever done in my entire life. If Ningfan kills 4 void refinement realm experts of the Rain Palace and causes me, Madman Wu, to flee to the Rain World, then I will be in big trouble. Chapter 542. With Ningfan here, no matter how arrogant the 4 elders were, they would not dare to punish Wu Chen. Wu Chen, on the other hand, looked nervous. He had heard that Marquis White Robe was infamous for treating human lives like grass. He often killed people out of anger. He was afraid that Ningfan would kill the 4 elders. All the cultivators in the entire Vermilion Bird City were suppressed by the overwhelming baleful chi and devil might. They did not even dare to breathe loudly. The city was dead silent. Only the sound of the rainstorm could be heard. All the cultivators were swallowing their saliva. If Ningfan goes on a killing spree, not to mention the Vermilion Bird City, even Zhao country would be bathed in blood. To this man, the realm law of the rain world was nothing. Ningfan's eyes indifferently swept across the four elders, and then Wu Chen. When he saw Wu Chen's panicked expression, he could not help but chuckle. Wu Chen did not have a huge conflict with the vast heaven palace. Besides, he was the victim. Since he did not have the intention to punish the four elders, Ningfan certainly would not kill them here. The reason why he showed up was just to return a favor to Wu Chen and help him solve the problem. That was all. With his words, Ningfan believed that even the palace lord would not punish Wu Chen anymore. Don't worry. I just want to get drunk today. I won't kill anyone. The four of you have spoiled my mood. Leave now. As soon as Ningfan finished speaking, he returned to his seat and began to drink by himself. He did not reveal any baleful chi at all. His expression was calm. No one could tell that he was a devil lord who wanted to stir up trouble. The four elders exchanged glances with each other. Judging from Ningfan's attitude, even if he protected Wu Chen today, they would not be able to bring him back to the palace to punish him. What Wu Chen had done was just a small mistake. The reason why the palace lord punished him was just because he disliked his attitude of offending his superior. Since the dignified Marquis White Robe wanted to protect Wu Chen, they naturally would not dare to go against him. However, if they return empty-handed, the palace lord would certainly punish them. The four of them hesitated, not knowing whether they should leave now or leave after capturing Wu Chen. Why are you still here? Ningfan took a sip of his wine and spoke in an indifferent tone. When others heard his words, they only felt that it was a gentle breeze and there was nothing wrong with it. However, when the four elders heard his words, it turned into countless thunderclaps, causing them to retreat while coughing out blood. The four of them looked at each other in astonishment. The person who could force them to retreat with just a sentence must at least be an absolute void stage old monster. All of them knew that Ningfan was infamous, but they did not expect his cultivation base to be this terrifying. Even if Palace Master Hao Tian personally attacked, he might not be able to force the four of them back with just a single word. Marquis White Robe, please calm down. We will take our leave now. The four of them no longer dared to disobey Ningfan's order. They hurriedly left and disappeared into the curtain of rain. In an instant, the entire Vermilion Bird City heaved a sigh of relief. Wu Chen, on the other hand, stared at Ningfan with a strange look in his eyes. In an instant, his eyes became as deep as the ocean. His eyes shone brightly as if he was looking at Ningfan seriously again. However, that light only lasted for a moment before it disappeared. Ningfan did not notice it as well. Wu Chen panted heavily and sat back on his seat. He looked at Ningfan awkwardly. Cough cough. You scared me to death. I didn't expect that little brother Ning's real identity is actually Marquis White Robe. It really scared me to death. All the customers in the tavern fell silent and nodded silently. They agreed with Wu Chen's opinion. They were also scared to death by Ningfan. With Ningfan here, who would still be in the mood to drink, all of them were eager to leave as soon as possible. However, they were also afraid that they would make Ningfan unhappy if they left hastily. Thus, each of them wore a restless expression. Brother Wu's divination technique is really amazing. Did you really not manage to divine my identity before this? Ningfan revealed a meaningful smile. I thought you were at the vein opening realm. Why would I divine you? Say, if I had divined that you are Marquis White Robe, I'm afraid I would have already packed up my things and fled from the Vermilion Bird City. I misspoke. I'll have to drink a jar of wine as punishment. Wu Chen was also a forthright person. It seemed like he was no longer afraid of Ningfan's ferocious reputation. Thus, he became more familiar with Ningfan. Is that so? I've lived my entire life, but I don't have many friends. Being able to get to know Brother Wu before entering the middle state is also fate. Why don't we become friends who enjoy wine and meet together? What a good friend who enjoys wine and meet together. I like to make friends who enjoy wine and meet together. Let's eat and drink together. There's no need to scheme against each other. Haha. Haha. The two of them approached the window. Outside the window, The raindrops poured like a waterfall. Even though the two of them were drenched by the raindrops, they still drank their wine calmly. If it was before, the customers in the tavern would probably laugh at them for being foolish. Now, however, they began to admire the demeanor of experts who remained calm in the face of heavenly might. Sigh. If it wasn't for Brother Ning's help this time, I would have been sent back to the Great Heaven Palace by Bu Yu and the other two elders. You know what I mean? I don't care how many whips I get. What I'm fighting for is my pride. Of course, I'm also afraid of losing face. If I get whipped 20 times in front of the other revered elders of the Great Heaven Palace, I'm afraid I won't have the face to see anyone for the rest of my life. Face, huh? Ningfan could not help but laugh. This Wu Chen's personality was really a troublemaker, which was quite similar to the old devil. Wu Chen had performed a divination for him, and Ningfan had helped him once. Even though the kindness between them might not cancel each other out, the friendship between the two of them had finally been forged. I won't be returning to the Great Heaven Palace for the time being. I want to travel around the 800 cultivation countries of the Rain World. I want to stay away from the limelight so that no one can make things difficult for me. Brother Ning, if you want to go to the Middle State, head north after Zhao Country, and enter the territory of the Middle State. I won't send you there. Ha ha. Hiding. In my opinion, Brother Wu wants to use the opportunity of traveling the world to gain enlightenment. I can't hide anything from Brother Ning. I, your father, really want to comprehend it and make a breakthrough. Is that so? Ningfan drank his wine while looking at the rain outside the window. He no longer said anything, as if he was comprehending the great Tao of void from the rain. Wu Chen was also holding a jar of wine, looking at the storm outside the window. Every now and then, he would gulp down a mouthful of wine, his eyes deep and vacant. The grand Tao of the world is extremely simple and true. Every flower and every rain has its own truth. Brother Ning must be using the rain to comprehend the emptiness, but what I see is not emptiness. After a day and a night, the storm finally stopped. Ningfan's mood of drinking had already passed. The sadness in his heart had also faded away. With a gentle shake of his magic power, all the rainwater on his body evaporated. Then he rose to his feet and cupped his fists towards Wu Chen. See you again. The rain stopped and the wine dispersed. There was no longer any reason for Ningfan to stay in the Vermilion Bird City. Thus he bid his farewell. Brother Ning, please wait. Take these 2 jade slips and take a look. It can be considered as having a better understanding of the central region. Wu Chen was no longer in the mood of drinking. He stood up and called out to Ningfan, handing him 2 jade slips. Ningfan received the jade slips and scanned them with his spirit sense. Then he cupped his fists and left. His back no longer looked lonely. Wu Chen looked at Ningfan's disappearing back and also stood up. He kept the bamboo hat and straw cape beside him, and used his magic power to dry the water stains on his body. This man should be the leader of this generation's youth in the Rain World. As soon as he finished speaking, Wu Chen laughed and left the tavern proudly. After Ningfan and Wu Chen left, the entire Vermilion Bird City was filled with sighs of relief. Very good. The malefic star has finally left. Ningfan left the border of Zhao Country and officially entered the central region. Wu Chen gave Ningfan 2 jade slips in total. One of the jade slips recorded the map of the central region. It covered all the territories of the 300-plus cultivation countries in the central region. The Rain World was surrounded by the sea on all sides. The central region occupied half of the Rain World. The other jade slips recorded all the introductions of the 40,000 sects and forces in the central region. Those small forces were naturally not worth mentioning. Only the forces with Void Refinement Realm experts were worthy of Ningfan's attention. In the Middle State, the forces that possess Void Refinement Realm experts were divided into the 5 countries, 9 palaces and 13 sections. There were quite a number of branch palaces in the Rain Palace. However, there were only 9 branch palaces with titles, and the palace masters were all Void Refinement Realm cultivators. As for the 9 palaces, each of them had a Void Fragmentation Realm cultivator in name. When the palace master of the 9 palaces encountered something that he could not handle, the Void Fragmentation Realm cultivators would take action. Under normal circumstances, void fragmentation realm cultivators would be busy with cultivation and would not pay attention to mundane chores. The 5 nations were the Heavenly Cloud Nation, the Inua Nation, the Rising Sun Nation, the Qianhuan Nation, and the Snow Nation. The Heavenly Cloud Nation was the capital of the Rain World. The main palace and the 9 branch palaces of the Rain Palace were all located in the Heavenly Cloud Nation. The Heavenly Cloud Nation was the largest cultivation nation in the Rain Immortal world. It was divided into 10 great nations, which were called the Heavenly Cloud 10 territories. The cultivators of the main palace and the 9 sub-palaces were stationed there. The Scarlet Heaven Palace that Ning Fan was currently in charge of was located in the Scarlet Heaven territory of Heavenly Cloud Country. Other than the Heavenly Cloud Nation, the other 4 nations were guarded by the 4 great Void Fragmentation Realm experts of the Rain Palace. The Void Fragmentation Realm expert of Inu Country was the sect master of the Netherworld sect, Yin Daoku. The Void Fragmentation Realm expert of the Li Sun Country was the sect master of the Lai Mountain sect, Pil Sovereign Li Tsangtian. The Void Fragmentation Realm expert of the Thousand Fantasy Country was the sect master of the Thousand Fantasy sect, Yin Qingga. The Void Fragmentation Realm expert of Snow Country was the Valley master of the Dragon Deciding Valley, Chu Chang'an. Other than the 5 nations and 9 palaces, there were also 13 sects in the Central Plains. They were Lanling sect, 5 Element sect, Imperial Beast sect, Flowing Cloud Valley, Fine Dust sect, Martial sect, Nirvana Valley, Wonderful Sound Valley, Hollow Temple, Ice Mountain Sword sect, Barbarian Dao sect, Scarlet Demon sect, and 6 Flames sect. Due to the Battle of 100 sects, many Void Refinement Realm experts of the 13 sects had fallen. Many sects had no choice but to elect a new Void Refinement Realm sect master. As for the Barbarian Dao sect, the Scarlet Demon sect, and the 6 Flames sect, due to the deaths of all the Void Refinement Realm cultivators in their sects, they had already faded out of the 13 sections. He now had a general understanding of the middle state. In order to meet the Rain Sovereign, he naturally had to go to Heavenly Cloud Country. The chances of finding Ning Qian's whereabouts in the more than 300 cultivation countries in the central continent were slim, like finding a needle in a haystack. He did not know what had happened back then, but he remembered Ning Qian's words in that dream. It was very dangerous inside the Rain Palace. Could it be that someone in the Rain Palace had done something to Ning Qian and the infant? The reason he came to the middle state this time was to return the Xianwei Bloody Gourd to Yun Tianjue. Now, however, he did not know how to face this person. He recalled the scenes in the Dragon Determining Valley, and the provocative words that the 7th prince said to Yun Tianjue. The 7th prince said that Yun Tianjue had betrayed the Rain Palace for a woman in the past and killed the 4th prince. Because of that, he was implanted with a sinful seal. Could it be that the person who hurt Ning Qian was the 4th prince? Or could it be someone else? The Rain Palace, huh? Ning Fan's eyes flashed with cold light. Before he found out the truth, he would not do anything. However, if he finds out that someone from the Rain Palace was involved in this matter, he might stir up a sea of blood in the middle state. Ning Fan stroked the blue jade on his neck. No one knew what he was thinking. His traveling light sped all the way. Half a month later, he arrived at Lianyan Country. This country was already adjacent to Heavenly Cloud Country. There were many cultivators of the Rain Palace stationed there. When Ning Fan crossed the border, someone immediately recognized him and handed him another secret order from the Rain Sovereign. I'm currently in seclusion. You stay in Heavenly Cloud Country. When I come out, I will summon you. As soon as Ning Fan finished reading the secret order, it combusted on its own. He did not stay in Lianyan Country any longer. Instead, he immediately flew towards Yun Nation. When he arrived at Yun Nation, there was already a group of cultivators of the Rain Palace waiting outside the border to welcome him. Those who were waiting there were not people of the Scarlet Heaven Palace, but cultivators of the Serene Heaven Palace. As a branch palace under Ning Fan, the Scarlet Heaven Palace actually did not come to welcome him, the Palace Lord. Was this the intention of the 7th prince who was guarding the Scarlet Heaven Palace? Did he want to show his strength to Ning Fan? The Palace Lord and Vice Palace Lord of the Serene Heaven Palace, Feng Sheng and Feng Si, both came to welcome Ning Fan. This was greatly out of Ningfan's expectation. He did not have any friendship with the Serene Heaven Palace. To be precise, they even had some grudges against each other. However, the Serene Heaven Palace was treating him so warmly. Was this the intention of Chu Chang, or the sixth prince, Yin Yomu? He actually attained the Void Inquiry stage after just 10 years. Fang Sheng and Fang Si were initially welcoming Ningfan with smiles on their faces. However, as soon as they sensed Ningfan's Void Inquiry stage chi, their expressions changed, and they exclaimed in surprise. Their exclamation immediately shocked the other cultivators of the Serene Heaven Palace. 10 years ago, during the battle in Song Country, Ningfan was clearly just a Void Glimpse stage cultivator. This man actually only spent 10 years to attain the Void Inquiry stage. He was simply a monstrous genius. Among the group of revered elders of the Serene Heaven Palace, many of them were looking at Ningfan with admiration, respect and gratitude. These revered elders were naturally the group of people whom Ningfan had saved from the blood dragon pool that day. Yu Bai, who had some friendly relations with them, was also among them. Sensing Ningfan's vast and profound qi, he felt ashamed of his own inferiority. Revered Ming, the one who saved us in the past, is now the palace lord of the Scarlet Heaven Palace. It's really admirable. Void Inquiry stage. It has only been a few years, but he has already become a Void Inquiry stage cultivator. Our cultivation aptitude isn't considered weak either. However, compared to him, we are really ashamed of ourselves. A young lady with a ponytail and silver armor who had delicate features stared at Ningfan in a daze. Her eyes were filled with surprise and disbelief as she waved at Ningfan. Zhou Ming, no Ningfan, you've also come to the middle state. That's great. Great. This is really great. I can finally repay the 3 favors that I owe him. Ningfan was stunned. He then looked at the young lady. Yu Cheng. Chapter 543. Seeing that Ningfan still remembered her, Yu Cheng felt a sweetness in her heart. She lowered her head and her ears felt a little warm. Fang Sheng and Fang Si calmed themselves down from their initial shock. They stepped forward and cupped their fists at Ningfan politely. We have been waiting for Marquis Whiterobe for a long time under the 6th Prince's order to lead the way to Heavenly Cloud. The 6th Prince's order, huh? Ningfan was slightly surprised. He did not expect that Yin Yomu would send someone to greet him. Ningfan could not see through Yin Yomu at all. He could only vaguely feel that this person was extremely shrewd, but did not follow the rules when doing things. Was the reason why Yin Yomu sent someone to greet him purely to express his goodwill? Or was there another reason? Ningfan withdrew his thoughts and politely cupped his fists at Fang Sheng and Fang Si. No matter what, since they greeted him with a smile, he would not treat them coldly. Ningfan greets the 2 palace masters and fellow Taoists of the Serene Heaven Palace. It has been many years since we last met. How have you been? He was at most polite to Fang Sheng and Fang Si. However, he felt a sense of closeness towards Yu Bai, Yu Cheng and the others. Yu Cheng lowered her head even more. She did not dare to meet Ningfan's eyes at all. Her cheeks became even hotter. Damn it! Damn it! Damn it! I can't breathe just by looking at him. Am I sick? Yes. That must be it. Yu Bai and the others cupped their fists to return Ningfan's greeting one after another. It was truly an honor to be asked by the dignified Marquis Whiterobe. I trust you. Cough cough cough. If Marquis Whiterobe wants to catch up with your old friends, you can do so later. Why don't you follow us to the Serene Heaven realm first? The 6th Prince has already set up a banquet with spiritual fruits and spiritual wine in the Serene Heaven Palace. He intends to entertain Marquis Whiterobe. Now that something has happened to the Scarlet Heaven Palace, it is temporarily uninhabitable. Fellow Taoist, you don't have to rush to the Scarlet Heaven realm. You can stay in my Serene Heaven realm, Fang Sheng said. Something happened? What happened? Ningfan was stunned. It's a long story. If Marquis Whiterobe wishes to know more, you can head to the Scarlet Heaven territory to have a look. Cough cough cough. The 7th Prince seems to want to give Marquis Whiterobe a show of strength. Fang Sheng replied with a sigh. If that's the case, since the Scarlet Heaven Palace has encountered an accident, as the Scarlet Heaven Palace Master, I should go to the Scarlet Heaven Palace to see what's going on. I have no choice but to disappoint the two of you and go to the Serene Heaven Palace's banquet in the future. Ning Fan stared at Feng Sheng and Feng Si meaningfully. He had a vague guess in his mind. Since Marquis White Robe insists on going to the Crimson Heaven territory, we won't force you to go to the Nether Heaven territory. If Marquis White Robe encounters any difficulties in the Crimson Heaven territory, you can seek help from the Sixth Prince. The Sixth Prince and Marquis White Robe hit it off the moment they met, and he will definitely do his best to help Marquis White Robe overcome any difficulties. Feng Sheng smiled meaningfully. Farewell. Ning Fan cupped his fists at everyone and stepped on a ray of traveling light. He was actually going to enter the Heavenly Cloud Nation alone and head to the Scarlet Heaven territory. He was still wondering why Yin Yomu had specially welcomed him, but now he understood the reason behind it. Yin Yomu was reminding Ning Fan that the Seventh Prince, Yin Jinghong, wanted to target Ning Fan. If Ning Fan wants to deal with the Seventh Prince, he can seek help from Yin Yomu. The Serene Heaven Palace would be Ning Fan's friend. The reason why Yin Yomu showed goodwill to Ning Fan was probably because he was not on good terms with Yin Jinghong. He wanted to use Ning Fan to deal with Yin Jinghong. Is this Yin Yomu's motive? It seems like there are also open and veiled conflicts among the princes of the Rain Palace. Ning Fan's thoughts raced. Just as he was about to leave, Yu Chong boldly rushed out of the crowd and said to him, Ning Fan, you have just arrived at the Heavenly Cloud Nation. You probably don't know the way. Let me bring you to the Scarlet Heaven territory. Chong, the guardian of the Scarlet Heaven territory, Cloud Lion, has all gone out of control. It's very dangerous for you to go there with your current cultivation base. Besides, you don't have Void Refinement Realm cultivation base like Marquis White Robe. Yu Bai's expression was anxious. He tried to dissuade Yu Chong-er. Yu Chong-er, however, did not take his advice seriously. She pointed at Ning Fan and said, He will protect me. Probably. Yu Chong-er looked at Ning Fan with uncertainty. Without Ning Fan's protection, she would not dare to go to the Scarlet Heaven territory. All right. I have just arrived at the Heavenly Cloud Nation, and I'm unfamiliar with this place. Having Miss Yu to lead the way is naturally the best. Don't worry, brother Yu. With me around, no matter what happens in the Scarlet Heaven territory, your sister will not be harmed at all. Ning Fan cupped his fists at Yu Bai. Then he displayed his teleportation technique and brought Yu Chong-er into the territory of the Heavenly Cloud Nation. Looking at the two of them leaving, Yu Bai shook his head and sighed. Didn't this younger sister of his always hate Ning Fan? Why is she so enthusiastic towards him now? The Scarlet Heaven territory was located in the northwest of the Heavenly Cloud Nation. Ning Fan needed to travel across a few other territories in order to reach the Scarlet Heaven territory. Yu Chong-er rode on Ning Fan's traveling light as if she was stepping on a black rainbow. She did not dare to raise her head. Her cheeks were burning hot. She would only lift her head and sneak a peek at Ning Fan occasionally when she was guiding him. However, whenever she saw Ning Fan, she would recall the past when she gave him a kiss in the past. In the past, in order to give the blood of an insect sovereign to Ning Fan to heal his injuries, she had given him her first kiss. I must be sick. Otherwise, why would I volunteer to lead the way for him? Am I crazy? The Scarlet Heaven territory is so dangerous and yet I still ran over there. I'm finished. I'm so nervous. What should I say to him? My mind is completely blank now. The way she lowered her head made her look like a frightened ostrich. Ning Fan could not help but find it funny. Was this still the Yu Chong-er he knew? In his memory, Yu Chong-er hated devil cultivators to the core. She often mocked and ridiculed him. She even kissed him forcefully and used him as a pillow when she was asleep. Today, however, she was very obedient and quiet. She did not say anything unnecessary. He secretly used the mind-reading technique to read through Yu Chong-er's thoughts. He did not know whether to laugh or cry. It turned out that Yu Chong-er did not become quiet. She was just too nervous and did not know what to say to him. Aren't you going to introduce me to the local conditions and customs of the Heavenly Cloud Nation? Ning Fan reminded her. That's right. Let me introduce you to the Heavenly Cloud Nation. It's the capital of the Rain World. In terms of prosperity, None of the 800 cultivation countries in the rain world can compare to it. Yucheng nagged and began to introduce the local conditions and customs of the country to Ningfan. The heavenly cloud nation was a country of clouds and mist. All the palaces and pavilions in the country were built with clouds and mist. Clouds could be seen everywhere in the sky. The entire heavenly cloud nation was enveloped by layers of formation light made of clouds and mist. The formation light was at the peak immortal void realm. Even an ordinary void fragmentation realm cultivator would not be able to break this country's protective cloud formation. This formation is called the Cloud Sea Mist Formation. It is a grand formation that was set up by a certain rain sovereign in the previous generation. It can use the light of the clouds to eliminate enemies. It is said that several 100,000 years ago, millions of bandits attacked the heavenly cloud nation. There were even 3 first heavenly layer void fragmentation realm cultivators among them. In the end, all of them were killed by this formation. Yucheng explained. When she imagined the scene where millions of people died, she felt a little scared. It can even kill void fragmentation realm cultivators? Ningfan's gaze swept across the grand formation. Even with his heart formation realm cultivation base, he still could not see through all the changes of this formation. The heavenly cloud nation is divided into 10 territories. Each of them is as big as an entire void-grade cultivation country. The cultivators here not only build their houses using clouds, but also use them to create escape treasures. In the 10 territories of the heavenly cloud nation, each of them has a 900,000 zhang tall cloud. On the peak of the cloud mountain, a branch of the rain palace is built. The heavenly cloud nation is very vast. We have just reached the Yang heaven realm. As soon as Yucheng finished speaking, she pointed to the surroundings. Far away, they could vaguely see a towering cloud mountain. On top of that mountain, a magnificent palace was built. It was the Yang Heaven Palace. Cultivators could be seen everywhere in the sky. Most of them were riding on immortal clouds and using them to escape. Each of those immortal clouds had different colors. Each of them was engraved with cloud patterns. The more cloud patterns there were, the faster they would be able to escape. A 2-mark immortal jade was equivalent to the escaping speed of a harmonious spirit realm cultivator. A 3-mark gold core, a 4-mark nascent soul, a 5-mark immortal cloud was equivalent to the escaping speed of a divine transformation realm cultivator. As for 6-mark immortal clouds, they were very rare. These immortal clouds did not need any magic power to drive them. Without a doubt, they were spiritual equipment. These are the immortal cloud spiritual equipment produced by the Flowing Cloud Valley. It's a technique unique to the rain world. Cultivators from other worlds often purchase immortal clouds from the Flowing Cloud Valley. Yucheng introduced. The Flowing Cloud Valley of the 13 sects, huh? I wonder if there are any 7 marks immortal clouds for sale there? Ningfan inquired. A 7 marks immortal cloud should have the speed of a void fragmentation realm cultivator. Moreover, it would not consume any magic power to fly. If he could buy a 7 marks immortal cloud spiritual equipment and refine it into his body, it would be a wonderful thing. Tie. You wish. A 7 marks immortal cloud is a profound divinity spiritual equipment. Even if the Flowing Cloud Valley has such a supreme treasure, they won't be willing to sell it. They won't be able to buy it. Yucheng gradually became cheerful and no longer felt nervous. That's really a pity. Ningfan did not mind it. It was not like he had to buy an immortal cloud. In the past, he had heard that the rain world was rich in immortal clouds. Today, he finally got to see the scene of tens of thousands of cultivators riding on clouds. If he goes to the sword world, he should be able to see the scene of tens of thousands of cultivators riding on swords. If he goes to the tree world, he wondered what kind of scene he would see. Ningfan's speed was not slow, but the heavenly cloud nation was just too vast. 3 days later, the two of them arrived at the border of the Scarlet Heaven territory. With a beauty accompanying him along the way, he would not feel lonely. As soon as he entered the Scarlet Heaven territory, a group of cultivators flew up and blocked his way. They shouted coldly, "Halt your steps!" According to the 7th Prince's order, all the cloud lions in the Scarlet Heaven territory are now out of control. No one is allowed to enter the Scarlet Heaven territory to avoid being killed by the Cloud Lions. Each of the cultivators in this group had a mid-divine transformation realm cultivation base and above. The leader was a late divine transformation realm cultivator. Each of the cultivators' clothes had a scarlet cloud emblem on it. It was the emblem of the Scarlet Heaven Palace. Without a doubt, these cultivators were the members of the Scarlet Heaven Palace. Ningfan stopped and glanced at the Scarlet Heaven territory. He saw hundreds of thousands of stone lion statues flying in the sky that was surrounded by clouds and mist. The chi of these stone lions varied in strength. The weak ones were only equivalent to the harmonious spirit realm, while the strong ones were even at the divine transformation realm. Ningfan spread out his spirit sense and found that there were at least 1,000 divine transformation realm stone lions in the sky above the Scarlet Heaven territory. These stone lions were not living creatures. Instead, they were stone lion puppets that were made from a kind of hard cloud called stone cloud. Ningfan had once entered the seclusion grounds of the previous rain sovereigns in the Blood Dragon Pool. There were 12 stone lions guarding the entrance, and each of them had void fragmentation realm chi. The stone lions in the Blood Dragon Pool looked similar to the stone lions in this place. However, they were much stronger. Besides, the stone lions in the Blood Dragon Pool must be rooted in the ground and could not move. The stone lions in this place were more like puppets. Even though their limbs were stiff, they could fly and move. So these stone lions are called cloud lions. Ningfan muttered to himself. Yes, cloud lions are a secret technique unique to the Rain Palace. There are two types of them. One of them is the cloud lion puppet. It can move, but its cultivation base cannot exceed the divine transformation realm. The other type is the cloud lion statue. Even though it can't move, it can step on the ground and is very powerful. I heard that there are several void fragmentation realm cloud lion statues guarding the place where the rain sovereign is in seclusion. Yu Chong, looked at the sky with a hint of fear. Hundreds of thousands of stone lions had lost control and were flying in the sky. Once any cultivators enter the depths of the Scarlet Heaven territory, they would join forces to kill them. Ningfan's eyes narrowed and a cold light flashed across them. Hundreds of thousands of stone lions of the Rain Palace had gone out of control. This could be considered as a major incident, but no one could deal with these stone lions. Even though there were many stone lions, the strongest among them was only at the divine transformation realm. If a true expert were to take action, it would not be difficult for them to subdue all of the stone lions. Was there someone who purposely did not allow anyone to deal with these stone lions? Was he trying to intimidate Ningfan with these stone lions? Ningfan smiled disdainfully. Just 1,000 divine transformation realm cloud lions wanted to intimidate him? Yin Jinghong seemed to have underestimated him. Descending from the sky, Ningfan led Yu Chong, and slowly walked into the Scarlet Heaven territory. How dare you? Who are you? How dare you defy the 7th Prince's order and trespass into the Scarlet Heaven territory? Take him down. The group of divine transformation realm cultivators surrounded Ningfan and spoke arrogantly. Ningfan did not say much. He just released his baleful chi and immediately dyed the clouds of the entire Scarlet Heaven territory red. At this moment, the Scarlet Heaven territory really turned into a world with a red sky. That baleful chi contained all of Ningfan's killings in his life. It even contained the baleful chi left behind by Bone Sovereign. At the moment when the baleful chi spread, the group of divine transformation realm cultivators was greatly shocked. They felt a sharp pain in their chests and retreated while coughing out blood. Their faces were filled with shock. Even the cloud lion puppets that were flying in the sky without any spiritual intelligence began to tremble in fear. At this moment, a black crescent mark rose in Ningfan's left eye. His expression became stern and cold. With just a single gaze, the bodies of the hundreds of thousands of cloud lions that had lost control trembled. They descended to the ground and knelt down respectfully towards Ningfan. They no longer showed any signs of losing control. The reason why these cloud lion puppets had lost control was because they were secretly attacked by someone. However, with just a single gaze, Ningfan made all of them return to normal and willingly serve him as their master. Marquis White Robe. The group of Divine Transformation Realm cultivators finally recognized the identity of the intruder from Ningfan's extremely terrifying baleful qi. Each of them was extremely terrified. On the peak of a mountain far away, a middle-aged man in green robes stood proudly. His body was surrounded by swirling clouds of light. His cold eyes were looking in the direction of the Scarlet Heaven territory. He was the 7th prince of the Rain Palace, Yin Jinghong. He was the Void Fragmentation Realm expert who guarded the Scarlet Heaven Palace. Originally, he was quietly watching Ningfan enter the Scarlet Heaven territory, waiting to see the scene where Ningfan was exhausted from dealing with the hundreds of thousands of Cloud Lions. Among the hundreds of thousands of Cloud Lions, there were more than 1,000 Divine Transformation Realm Cloud Lions. Even a Void Pierce stage expert would not dare to recklessly face this army of Cloud Lions. From Yin Jinghong's point of view, if Ningfan goes against this army of Cloud Lions with his low cultivation base, he would certainly be severely injured if not dead. Of course, he would not watch Ningfan die. After Ningfan is severely injured, he would take action to protect him from death. Ningfan still had some value to him. Even though he could not kill him, he could still teach him a lesson. There's no need to watch anymore. This young man has already entered the Scarlet Heaven territory. The hundreds of thousands of Cloud Lions are fearful of him. He certainly won't be able to escape. Yin Jinghong smiled coldly and closed his eyes in a conceited manner. However, at the next moment he suddenly opened his eyes and saw a scene that he could not believe. With just a single gaze, Ningfan made the hundreds of thousands of Cloud Lions that had lost control return to normal and kneel respectfully on the ground. The Cloud Lions were just puppets. Their spiritual intelligence was even lower. They would not kneel to anyone at all. Why would they kneel to Ningfan? Why was Ningfan able to make all the Cloud Lions return to normal in just a breath's time? What made Yin Jinghong even more astonished was that the blood-red clouds that covered the sky of the Scarlet Heaven realm were dyed red by Ningfan's baleful qi. At this moment, Ningfan, who was standing in the Scarlet Heaven realm, suddenly turned his head and looked at Yin Jinghong coldly. Just a single gaze contained all the killings that Ningfan had committed in his entire life. Just a single gaze gave Yin Jinghong a sense of danger that he had never felt before. It was as if the young man in front of him was not Ningfan, but a peerless ferocious beast that could tear the Void Fragmentation realm apart. With just a single gaze, even the heavenly Tao could no longer tolerate the sins that he had committed. Yin Jinghong was caught off guard. When he met Ningfan's extremely cold, baleful gaze, he immediately felt a sharp pain in his chest. His blood and qi were in a mess, and he nearly fell off the mountain peak. How is this possible? Why does this young man have such a terrifying baleful qi? Even I can't withstand his aura force. Could it be that he has killed Void Fragmentation Realm cultivators before? No. This is absolutely impossible. There are no Void Fragmentation Realm cultivators who have fallen in the Rain World. Besides, Void Fragmentation Realm cultivators are renowned throughout the entire world. How is it possible for him to kill them? He is just an ant. Even though Yin Jinghong's tone was cold, his eyes no longer dared to look in Ningfan's direction. The pain in his chest gradually intensified. It was actually a sign that his mind was being invaded by the baleful qi. Yin Jinghong no longer dared to stay in this place. He immediately turned into a ray of traveling light and left. He must immediately enter seclusion and erase the baleful qi in his mind to prevent it from being tainted in the Scarlet Heaven realm. Ningfan looked at Yin Jinghong's traveling light that was getting further away. He withdrew the baleful qi that filled the sky and his eyes gradually darkened. As expected, it's Yin Jinghong. That Yin Yomu didn't lie to me. Then he turned his head and said to Yu Chong with a faint smile, "Let's go. Bring me to the Scarlet Heaven Palace." His smile was as warm as the spring breeze. There was not a single trace of baleful qi in his eyes. Oh, Yu Chong was still covering her lips with her hands. She was still in a state of shock. It had only been more than 10 years since they last met. However, Ningfan was able to subdue hundreds of thousands of spiritual puppets with just a single gaze. It was just too unbelievable. How did you do it? Yu Chong asked curiously. It's a secret. If you want to know, come to my room tonight. We can talk in private. Ning Fan teased. Tisi, get lost. Yu Chong'er's pretty face was filled with anger and embarrassment. Her heart was about to leap out from her throat. Go to hell. Go to hell. She would rather die than to be alone with Ning Fan in a room and have a private chat with him. The righteous path and the devil path are irreconcilable, all right? Perhaps. Maybe, just maybe. It doesn't seem too bad to have a private chat with him. If Ning Fan promises not to kiss her. Chapter 544. Ning Fan brought Yu Chong'er to the Cloud Mountain of the Scarlet Heaven territory. At the same time, he took out a cloth bag and kept the hundreds of thousands of Cloud Lion puppets. He did not even spare a glance at the cultivators of the Scarlet Heaven Palace. His name was the Palace Lord of the Scarlet Heaven Palace. However, everyone in the palace was Yun Jinghong's trusted subordinates. None of them could be used. These puppets could be put to good use. It would be a good choice to leave them to Yu country as guards. At 90,000 zhang high in the sky, the escaping light streaked across the vast sky. Beside their ears was a sea of clouds, while below their feet was a cultivation city the size of an ant. Because the Cloud Lions had gone out of control, all the cultivators in the Scarlet Heaven territory had moved to other countries. The vast territory was slightly desolate and uninhabited. An hour later, a 90,000 zhang tall cloud mountain appeared in front of them. Countless cloud palaces and cloud towers were built on the top of the mountain. Ning Fan kept his escaping light and landed on the peak of the mountain with Yu Chong'er. They stood outside a giant door. There were 4 large golden words written on the signboard of the door. Scarlet Heaven Cloud Palace. This was the Scarlet Heaven Palace. Due to the chaos caused by the Cloud Lions, no cultivators dared to stay in the palace. All of them had taken refuge in other countries. We're here. Ning Fan looked at the empty palace with his hands clasped behind his back. Looking at the 90,000 zhang tall sea of clouds, he let out a sigh. At 90,000 zhang tall, red-crowned cranes were flying in the sky. It was as if they could touch the sky just by raising their hands. 50 years ago, when I was still in Wu country, I thought that the 1,400 zhang tall Ningbai mountain was the highest mountain in the world. Now I'm standing on the 90,000 zhang tall cloud mountain. However, I know that there are countless mountains that are higher than this mountain. At the end of the path of cultivation, who will be the peak? Immortals are people who stand on the mountain. However, I don't know how high the mountain must be in order to see the great Tao of immortality clearly and ascend to immortality in a single step. Yu Chong'er stood behind Ning Fan and stared at his back. At this moment, she felt that he seemed to have merged with the sea of clouds and his temperament was like an immortal. She was slightly stunned and could not help but look at Ning Fan a few more times. When she realized it, her face turned red and she lowered her head while biting her lips. Ning Fan, thank you. Previously, in the Blood Dragon pool, I almost lost my life trying to retrieve the Blood Dragon moss. Thank you for saving me. I have brought the Blood Dragon moss back to my clan and fed it to my mother. My mother's illness has been cured. Thank you. I will certainly repay your kindness. I saved you once, and you gave me the heaven-deceiving cloak. You don't owe me anything, so there's no need to repay me. It's a good thing that your mother can recover from her illness. The tree may desire peace, but the wind won't stop. It's a blessing to be able to be filial to your parents while you're still alive. Miss Yu has already sent me to the Scarlet Heaven Palace. Should I return to the Serene Heaven Palace, or stay in my Scarlet Heaven Palace for the time being? I have to return to the Serene Heaven Palace, otherwise Big Brother will scold me. Yu Chong'er stuck out her tongue and chuckled softly. She stomped her foot on the ground, and a 5-veined immortal cloud appeared. When I think of how to repay you, I'll come find you. I, Yu Chong'er, never owe anyone a favor. I will definitely repay you to your satisfaction. Is that so? Then I'm looking forward to it. Ning Fan replied with a smile. Then, I'll take my leave first. Yu Chong'er rode the immortal cloud and left. Her heart actually felt a little reluctant to part with him. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Why am I reluctant to leave? I must be sick. Last time he asked for my heaven-deceiving cloak. He seems to be very fond of profound divinity spiritual equipment. Why don't I ask my master for a profound divinity spiritual equipment and give it to him as repayment? Ning Fan looked at Yu Chong, Er's fleeing light, and revealed an indescribable smile. He used the mind-reading technique to see through Yu Chong Er's thoughts. Is this little girl going to give me a profound divinity spiritual equipment? Then I'm really looking forward to it. He withdrew his gaze, turned around, and walked into the Scarlet Heaven Cloud Palace. There was not a single cultivator in the empty palace. The defensive formation light was still on. As the Palace Lord of the Scarlet Heaven Palace, he had the Palace Lord's token, so he could directly enter the palace. Even though the palace was empty, the chaos caused by the Cloud Lion clan had already been settled. Presumably, all the cultivators who left would return to the Scarlet Heaven territory soon. He did not care whether there was anyone in the palace or not. Even though he was the Palace Lord of the Scarlet Heaven Palace, he did not care about the affairs of the palace at all. The only thing he was concerned about was how much benefits the Palace Lord of the Scarlet Heaven Palace would receive. As far as he knew, each of the Palace Lords of the 9 Great Branch Palaces was in charge of a territory. They could take and use the magic treasures and pills in their territories at will. They could also read the cultivation methods and secret manuals in their territories at will. Even though all the cultivators of the Scarlet Heaven Palace had fled, it was just to show Ning Fan's strength and temporarily leave. The treasury and the scripture pavilion were still there. The treasury and the scripture pavilion were protected by layers of formation light. However, Ning Fan could enter them at will with the Palace Lord's token. Even without the Palace Lord's token, he still had the Wind Mist Finger. What formation light could stop him under the immortal formations? He first entered the treasury of the Scarlet Heaven Palace. To the cultivators of the Scarlet Heaven Palace, all the items in the treasury could be exchanged with contribution points. Every year, the cultivators of the Rain Palace would be given contribution points which could be considered as their salary. If they complete the missions of the Rain Palace, they could obtain additional contribution points. However, Ning Fan, the Palace Lord, did not need to pay any contribution points. He could take and use the treasures in the treasury at will. There were a total of 5 billion immortal jade, 72,000 tufts of spiritual herbs that were 10,000 years old and above, 400 bottles of 5th Revolution pills, 3 bottles of 6th Revolution pills, 4,004 marks immortal clouds, 75 marks immortal clouds, 46 marks immortal clouds. There were 12,000 magic treasures that were at the nascent soul realm and above, more than 7,000 spiritual equipment that was at the profound jade realm and above, 500 nascent soul realm spiritual puppets, 42 divine transformation realm spiritual puppets, and 1 void glimpse stage spiritual puppet. Of course, he would take all of these items away. It was his privilege as the Palace Lord. As for how the divine envoys and revered elders of the palace cultivate after taking these items away, what did it have to do with him? After all, they were all Yun Jinghong's subordinates. When he left the treasury, it was already a little empty. He entered the scripture pavilion. There were many cultivation methods and magic techniques of the Rain Palace in this place. There were also many pill recipes. Ordinary cultivators of the Scarlet Heaven Palace would need to spend contribution points to read them. However, as the Palace Lord, he could read these magic techniques and pill recipes at will. The lowest cultivation method in this place was at the spirit grade, while the highest was at the mid-grade mortal void realm. As for pill recipes, the highest was at the mid-grade 6th revolution. Only the main palace of the Rain Palace had pill recipes of higher grades. In order to read the magic techniques and pill recipes of the main palace, even the 9th Palace Lord would have to spend contribution points. Naturally, Ning Fan would not be interested in the low-grade cultivation methods and pill recipes. He only made a copy of all the high-grade jade slips and took them away. The only thing that Ning Fan was slightly interested in was a scroll that introduced how to create a low-grade cloud lion. Just like that, Ning Fan had almost swept through the entire Scarlet Heaven Palace. Giggle. How are you here to be the Palace Lord? You're obviously here to be a bandit cultivator. Do you really want to scrape 3 feet of the ground before you stop? In the profound Yin world, Luo Yu teased him. Scrape 3 feet of the ground. It seems like you're right. The belly of this cloud mountain seems to be empty. I wonder what's hidden inside. Ning Fan smiled disapprovingly. His title as the Palace Lord of the Scarlet Heaven Palace was just an empty title. As long as Yun Jinghong was in the Scarlet Heaven Palace, he would not be able to truly control the palace. So what if he had to scrape 3 feet of the ground? After all, he was going to scrape Yun Jinghong's territory. Ning Fan used his earth escape technique and dived into the belly of the Cloud Mountain. The belly of the 90,000 zhang tall mountain was hollowed out and built into an extremely spacious palace. Both sides of the mountain walls were embedded with moonlight stones which emitted a faint light to illuminate the place. The palace was surrounded by peak mortal void realm formation lights. Only those with the token of the Palace Lord could enter this place. Oh, is this the place where the previous Palace Lords of the Scarlet Heaven Palace went into seclusion? Ning Fan walked into the palace. There were 49 stone chambers in the palace. In the middle of the main hall stood a gigantic ancient tablet. The ancient tablet was 900 zhang tall. Its entire body was snow white, and it emitted an extremely faint cloud light. The 4 corners of the tablet were engraved with mysterious runes. For ancient divine characters were written on the surface of the tablet. The Scarlet Heaven Rain Tablet. Ning Fan walked closer to the gigantic tablet. The closer he got to it, the more he could feel the irresistible dampness. His clothes became wet without any reason. That dampness was very familiar to Ning Fan. It was the rain intent realm. However, it was slightly different from the rain intent Ning Fan had comprehended. The cultivation base of the owner of this intent realm was rather terrifying. He had merely carved 4 words on the ancient monument and left behind a trace of intent realm power. It was unknown how many years had passed, but it was still able to render an expert like Ning Fan unable to resist the nourishment of the rain intent. The cultivation of the person who carved this tablet is far above me in the past. Luo Yu said with a solemn expression. When you were at your peak, you should have been a true immortal of the renunciation realm, right? The person who carved the tablet was stronger than you. What level of cultivation did he have? Ning Fan's eyes swept across the stone wall at the side. There were ancient words engraved on the stone wall. It was an introduction to the giant monument. This giant monument was called the Rain Monument. It was left behind by the ancestor of the Rain world. The Rain Ancestor. Each of the 9 great sub-palaces had a rain monument. It was rumored that one of the 9 rain tablets contained a divine art of the Rain Ancestor. The reason why the rain tablets were left behind was to allow the later generations to comprehend this art. Unfortunately, after the Rain Ancestor, no one in the Rain world was able to comprehend this technique. No one has ever learned this technique. How difficult is this technique? Ning Fan's face turned serious and he continued to stare at the stone wall. According to the records on the stone wall, the technique left behind by the Rain Ancestor was called Heaven Peaking Rain. It was a type of sensing magic technique. The sensing range of a cultivator's spirit sense was limited. However, some secret techniques could extend the range of their spirit sense by tens of times, hundreds of times, or even more. In the past, when Ning Fan was in the Sinister Sparrow sect, he accidentally entered the state of the unity of heaven and man, and displayed the spirit roaming 10,000 Liawei technique. Even though he was just a harmonious spirit realm cultivator, he was able to stretch his spirit sense into an extremely thin thread, and extend it out of the rain world, and into the northern heaven immortal world. The spirit roaming 10,000 Liawei technique was an extremely powerful sensing ability. Even the spirit sense of a true immortal realm cultivator might not be able to successfully cultivate this technique. With Ning Fan's current cultivation base, he certainly could not display the spirit roaming 10,000 Liawei technique for the second time. Previously, he had almost died under this technique. In the Star Palace, he was once chased by the Realm Beast. That Realm Beast had fused its spirit sense with the world of the entire Star Palace, allowing its spirit sense to spread to every corner of the Star Palace. Even though sensing abilities could not be used to kill people, it was definitely a powerful ability. According to the records on the stone wall, when the Rain Ancestor was at his peak, he had once entered the northern heaven immortal world. With a technique called the Heaven Peaking Rain, his spirit sense covered countless star regions in the entire northern heaven, shocking several immortal emperors. According to rumors, as long as one successfully cultivates this technique, even if one only has a void refinement realm spirit sense, they would still be able to cover the entire middle state with their spirit sense. The magic technique inherited in the rain monument is actually the heaven-peaking rain. The heaven-peaking rain allows one to see through the entire northern heaven with a light rain. This is the reason why this technique got its name. It's the technique that made the rain ancestor famous in this generation. Luo, you seem to have heard of this technique before. She was rather shocked. Silly little brother, quickly get closer to the rain monument and send your spirit sense into it. Try and see if you can comprehend this technique. Once you do, it will be extremely beneficial to you. Luo Yu urged. Since the creation of this technique in the rain world until now, no cultivator in the rain world has been able to successfully cultivate it. I don't think I can comprehend it. According to the records on the stone wall, if I fail to comprehend this technique, I will suffer a backlash from the rain monument, and my sea of consciousness will be severely damaged. If I fail to learn this technique, I will certainly suffer severe injuries from the backlash. However, if I manage to successfully cultivate this technique, Ning Fan revealed a struggling expression. If he managed to cultivate this technique, with his current level of divine sense, even if he couldn't cover the entire rain world, he would still be able to cover the entire middle prefecture. If he covered the entire middle state with his divine sense, he might be able to find Ning Qian in one go. She was in the middle state. Even if the chance of learning this technique was only 1 in a billion, even if he might be severely injured by the backlash from the rain monument, he did not care at all. Let me see how difficult it is to learn the rain ancestor's divine ability that no one in the rain world can comprehend. Ning Fan took a deep breath and walked to the bottom of the rain monument. Looking at the 900 jong tall monument, he stopped in his tracks. He closed his eyes and sent his divine sense into the rain monument. An extremely dense divine intent of rain rolled towards his spirit sense. In just an instant, the spirit sense that Ning Fan sent into the rain monument was completely shattered. He felt an intense pain in his sea of consciousness. His chest felt as if it had suffered a heavy blow, and he was sent flying several hundred jong backwards. His body smashed heavily against the stone wall, causing his bones and tendons to break. Did he fail? Luo Yu sighed softly. It seemed like Ning Fan was not fated to learn this technique. She wanted to comfort Ning Fan, but she realized that his current expression was extremely complicated. There was confusion, surprise, astonishment, and even a hint of joy in his eyes. Perhaps I can learn this technique. The reason why no one can learn this technique is not because it is difficult to understand. The biggest reason is that this technique requires one to cultivate the power of the divine, demon, and devil races at the same time in order to use it. The rain ancestor is not a pure divine cultivator. Due to some fortuitous encounters, the rain ancestor's body possesses the power of the 3 races at the same time. The first condition to learn this technique is to fuse magic power, demon power, and devil chi into one. No one in the rain world fulfills this condition. Therefore, since the rain world was established, no one has been able to learn this technique. The reason why I was injured by the rain monument was because the rain intent I comprehended has yet to reach the minimum requirement to practice this technique. The rain intent I comprehended in the past belongs to the divine intent, not the demon intent nor the devil intent. However, the rain ancestor's rain intent contains the divine intent of rain, the rain devil intent, and the rain demon intent. This technique is divided into 9 parts. What is inherited in this monument is only one of the 9 parts. Without saying much, he sat cross-legged under the rain monument. With a wave of his hand, he summoned the 99 natal black stars, and used their starlight to heal his wounds. 1 day, 2 days. On the 7th day, Ning Fan suddenly stood up. All of his injuries had been healed. He looked at the rain monument, and sensed the veins of the rain will on it. After a long silence, he sent out his divine sense into the rain monument again. This time he was once again sent flying by the rain monument, but he only flew back a few hundred meters before he stabilized his body. The injuries he suffered were not as serious as the first time. Ning Fan did not say anything else. Once again, he sat cross-legged on the rain monument to heal his wounds. This time, the healing process only took 4 days. After his injuries were healed, Ningfan stood up again and stared at the rain monument in silence for a long time. This time, he was not in a hurry to sink his divine sense into the rain monument. Instead, he closed his eyes to feel the rain intent of the rain ancestor. The divine intent of rain must have a merciful heart, allowing the rain intent to bless all living things. The demonic intent of the rain had to have a bewitching heart, causing the curtain of rain to cover the common people. The demonic rain intent must have the heart to kill, causing the rain to flood into a river. Ningfan stood in front of the rain monument and carefully sensed it. The battle lasted for 10 days. The aura around his body changed rapidly. Sometimes he was merciful like a deity, sometimes he was cold-blooded like a devil, and sometimes he was as evil as a demon. On the 11th day, Ningfan suddenly opened his eyes and sent his divine sense into the rain monument for the 3rd time. This time he was not repelled by the rain monument. This time, an ancient and vicissitudinous voice resounded in his ears, as if it was imparting the Tao. There is rain in the 9 heavens. My thoughts are connected to a world. The clouds are my eyes and the rain is my thoughts. Heaven and earth are integrated into my heart. This is the reign of heaven peaking. The reign of heaven peaking is divided into 9 heavens. The reign of the 3rd day is called the reign of scarlet heaven. All of a sudden, streams of information flowed into Ningfan's sea of consciousness. Luo Yu revealed a faint smile. Ningfan had actually comprehended the reign of heaven peaking technique, even if what he comprehended was just 1/9 of the complete technique. The corner of Ningfan's lips curled up slightly. He closed his eyes and stood in the palace at the belly of the mountain. Then he suddenly formed a series of hand seals. Once, twice, thrice. Another half a month passed. He did not know how many times he had performed the finger seals in the belly of the mountain, and he was getting more and more proficient. The cultivators who had left the Scarlet Heaven territory had long since returned. The cultivators of the Scarlet Heaven Palace had already returned and discovered that the treasury had been ransacked. No one expected that Ningfan would be practicing the rain technique in the belly of the mountain. However, all of a sudden, the Scarlet Heaven territory with a radius of 70 million miles started to rain. That's strange. The Heavenly Cloud Nation is protected by a grand formation. No rainwater can fall into the formation. Why would it suddenly rain in our Scarlet Heaven territory? Countless cultivators were puzzled. Inside the belly of the mountain, Ningfan's eyes were as deep as a bottomless pond. His hands kept forming hand seals. He was the one who made the rain. His great virtual realm spiritual will could only detect movements within 400,000 li. But at this moment, his eyes seemed to be able to see everything within a 70 million mile radius. All the clouds above the Scarlet Heaven territory were his eyes. The rain that would fall 70 million kilometers in the Scarlet Heaven territory was his will. Even a void fragmentation realm cultivator could only sense 1,000,000 li. However, Ningfan could clearly sense the scenery within 70 million li. The only flaw of this technique was that after using it once, all of his magic power would be drained. Powerful divine abilities would always consume a lot of magic power. Silly little brother, if you complete this technique, you might even be able to make rain fall in the entire middle state. The rain ancestor's heaven-peering rain is indeed very powerful. Luo Yu praised. Next I'll go and complete this technique. According to the stone wall, the cultivators of the 9 palaces are not allowed to comprehend the rain steels of the other palaces. If I want to comprehend the rain steels of the other palaces, I must fulfill a precondition. If I defeat the palace lords of the other 8 palaces, I will be able to comprehend the rain steels of the other 8 palaces. I want to learn this technique and spread rain across the entire middle state. Find her. Chie ray of traveling light rushed out of the belly of the mountain and headed towards the other 8 palaces with an intense battle intent. He wanted to challenge the other 8 palaces with his identity as the palace lord of the Scarlet Heaven Palace. He could only win. Chapter 545. The 4th level of the Heavenly Cloud Realm, Vermilion Heaven Realm. A golden sword light streaked across the sky and sped toward the cloud mountain where the Vermilion Sky Palace was located. It was an ancient golden sword. Its speed was almost close to that of a void fragmentation realm cultivator. Countless cultivators of the Vermilion Heaven territory looked at the sword light that was as dazzling as the golden sun, and were greatly shocked. What shocked them was not only the sword light, but also the person standing on the sword light. A frosty young man stood on the tip of the sword. His clothes were white like snow, his figure was like a mountain, his aura was like the rain, and his gaze was like lightning. His whole body emitted an extremely strong aura, and within that aura was an extremely strong battle intent. Marquis Whiterobe. This person is Marquis Whiterobe. I've seen his portrait before. What? This old monster with monstrous battle intent was actually Marquis Ningfan. Is he going somewhere to fight someone? I don't know, but looking at the direction he's heading to the cloud mountain of Vermilion Sky Palace. Vermilion Sky Palace. Why is he going to Vermilion Sky Palace Hall? Ningfan sped along the way, passing by countless cultivation cities. He did not care about the comments of others. There was only the sound of the wind in his ears, and the clouds in front of his eyes. There was only one thought in his mind, and that was to defeat the 8 palace masters of the Rain Palace, and learn the complete secret technique of the Rain Ancestor. Half a day later, the cloud mountains of the Vermilion Heaven territory could be seen in the distance. He withdrew the sword light and the ancient sword. His figure landed on the peak of Cloudy Mountain at an unbelievable speed. The cultivators who were guarding the entrance of the palace were greatly shocked. None of them actually saw how Ningfan landed on the ground. His movement technique was just too fast. Before the few cultivators of the Vermilion Heaven Palace could see Ningfan's face clearly, his voice had already resounded in the Cloud Mountain. It was like a sudden clap of thunder, reverberating in the ears of every cultivator of the Vermilion Heaven Palace for a long time. As the Scarlet Heaven Palace Master, I'm here to request to borrow the Rain Viewing Tablet, so I'm here to fight Palace Master Vermilion Heaven. In the belly of Cloudy Mountain, a bald old man was in seclusion. As soon as he heard Ningfan's words reverberating across the entire Cloud Mountain, his eyes immediately turned cold, and he smirked disdainfully. This old man has been cultivating for 7,400 years. There is rarely anyone who is a match for me within the Void Pierce stage. A mere Void Inquiry stage cultivator actually dares to challenge me. You really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. The bald old man sneered. His whole body turned into a gray light and disappeared from the belly of the mountain in an instant. He appeared on the mountain peak. Of course, he had heard all kinds of rumors about Ningfan. However, if he did not see it with his own eyes, he would not believe it. He did not believe in Ningfan's remarkable abilities. He only believed in his own strength. He was Palace Master Zhu Tian. His name was Marquis Longnan, a Void Pierce stage cultivator. Ningfan, you are not this old man's opponent, and do not have the qualifications to look at my Vermilion Sky Palace's Rain Monument. Quickly retreat. Marquis Longnan's body was surrounded by earth-shattering lightning. With a shout, his voice transformed into unimaginable airwaves, shattering all the clouds within a 300,000 li radius. Hundreds of divine envoys and revered elders of Vermilion Heaven Palace were at least in the nascent soul, or deity transformation realm. But under the imposing aura of Marquis Longnan's voice, none of them could stand firm. The Palace Lord's aura is so strong. Even if the opponent is Marquis Whiterobe, there's no way he can defeat Hall Master. Palace Master has comprehended the Seven Thunders art during this seclusion, and his strength has improved a lot. Marquis Whiterobe can't withstand Palace Master's lightning of 7 emotions. Layers of chi waves rolled towards Ningfan. However, when they reached his body, they strangely separated into 2. Ningfan glanced at Marquis Longnan and said indifferently, "Your aura can't scare me. Just do it. If you don't do it now, you won't have the chance anymore." Arrogant brat. Marquis Longnan's expression darkened. It was his first time being looked down upon by a Void Inquiry stage cultivator. His eyes glowed with 7-colored lightning. He formed hand seals with all 10 of his fingers and murmured, "The 7 emotions of a human being, and the 7 lightnings of nature. The first day is joy, the second day is anger, the third day is worry, the fourth day is thinking, the fifth day is sadness, the sixth day is fear, and the seventh day is shock. 7 thunders art. Marquis Longnan suddenly raised his hand and waved a 7-colored lightning flag. 7 colored lightning clouds immediately appeared within the 300,000 li. The 7-colored lightning condensed into 7 10,000 zhang lightning fists, which blasted towards the mountain peak where Ningfan was standing. Even an ordinary void pierce stage cultivator would not be able to withstand the 7 lightning fists. If the 7 lightning strikes, the entire cloud mountain would be destroyed. This is bad. Once the palace lord is enraged, he won't be able to control his strength anymore. Marquis Whiterobe will certainly be severely injured if not dead. As for our Vermilion Heaven Palace, I'm afraid our Vermilion Heaven Palace will also be destroyed by the fluctuations of the battle. A group of cultivators of Vermilion Heaven Palace was shocked. But a scene that no one had expected happened. Before the 7 lightnings could fall, Ningfan suddenly stomped on the peak of the mountain. A massive blood-red lightning diagram appeared beneath his feet. All of the 7 colored lightnings were devoured by the lightning diagram. Immediately after, he summoned the 8 black flame wings, took a step forward, and suddenly disappeared without a trace, leaving only a faint shadow of fire. In an instant, Marquis Longnan felt his scalp go numb, and his whole body was filled with a sense of danger. He retreated without the slightest hesitation, and immediately summoned a Sky Xian high-grade armor to protect himself. That was a high-grade profound sky treasure armor. It was strong enough to withstand an ordinary void pierce stage strike. His retreat was not slow, but Ningfan's speed was even faster. In just the blink of an eye, Ningfan had already arrived in front of him. Then he pointed a finger at him. His essence and technique merged into one. The force of his finger was nearly as strong as an absolute void stage attack. Bang! With a loud bang, the heavenly profound treasure armor shattered into pieces. Marquis Longnan felt a sharp pain in his chest. He coughed out blood and took a few hundred steps back before he managed to stabilize his body. His eyes were filled with shock. He, the dignified palace lord of Zhutian, was actually not a match for Ningfan. Moreover, he could tell that Ningfan had already shown mercy in that finger attack. Otherwise, he would definitely not have the strength to stand even if he was not dead. Marquis Whiterobe, stop now. I admit defeat. You have already obtained the right to view the Rain Monument. Now, follow me into the belly of the mountain. Hiss! Countless cultivators of the Zhutian Palace sucked in a cold breath. The palace lord that they had always been proud of was actually not a match for Ningfan. Marquis Longnan, on the other hand, found it hard to calm down. Perhaps, it would leave a shadow in his heart for the rest of his life. Forget it. This person's strength is terrifyingly strong. I'm afraid his strength is already close to an absolute void stage cultivator. I'm definitely not a match for him. There's no need for me to fight him to the death. I'll just let him view the Rain Monument. After all, no one has ever been able to comprehend this Rain Monument. Moreover, if he can't, he will certainly be injured by the rebound of the Rain Monument. The two of them entered the palace inside the mountain. Ningfan stood in front of the Rain Monument of the Zhutian Palace and spread his spirit sense into it. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, he turned around and left without hesitation, leaving Marquis Longnan, who was filled with astonishment. Why wasn't he sent flying by the Rain Monument? Logically, any cultivator who tries to comprehend the Rain Ancestors' technique would be sent flying by the Rain Monument. Could it be that there's something wrong with the Rain Monument? Marquis Longnan spread his spirit sense into the Rain Monument with an inquisitive mind. At the next moment, a blood-curdling scream resounded in the palace inside the mountain. The Rain Monument isn't broken. Marquis Longnan's face was as pale as paper. He was almost killed by the Rain Monument. Damn it. Damn it. Why was Ningfan not sent flying, but I, Marquis Longnan, was sent flying? Could it be that Ningfan had comprehended the inheritance of the Rain Ancestor? Stop joking. How is that possible? In the 150 million years since the establishment of the Rain World, no one had ever comprehended this technique. He would not believe it even if he was beaten to death. The fifth level of the Heavenly Cloud Realm, the heavenly formation realm. Ningfan stepped on a golden sword light and flew towards the heavenly formation realm's cloud mountain. It had been a day since he defeated Marquis Long Nan. In just one day, the news of him defeating Marquis Long Nan with a single finger spread like wildfire. When the heavenly formation realm cultivators saw Ningfan entering the heavenly formation realm, all of them were astonished. Ningfan was not only going to defeat Marquis Long Nan alone. Judging from the situation, he was also going to challenge the other 8 palace lords from the Scarlet Heaven Palace to the Heavenly Cloud Country. His goal seemed to be the Rain Ancestors Monument that no one could comprehend. TSK. I didn't expect this Marquis White Robe to be so strong. He could actually defeat Marquis Long Nan with a single finger. However, is he really going to challenge the other 8 palace lords? Rumor has it that the reason why Marquis White Robe fought Marquis Long Nan was because he wanted to see the Rain Ancestors Monument. The Rain Ancestors technique is recorded in the Rain Monument. However, it is impossible for anyone to comprehend this technique. In my opinion, this Marquis White Robe's intention to see the Rain Monument is fake. His real intention is to find an excuse to challenge the 8 palace lords to establish his prestige. Establish his prestige? It is said that Marquis White Robe's true cultivation base is only at the Void Inquiry stage. Can he really defeat the 8 palace lords? Every time Ningfan flew past a cultivation city, it would raise a discussion among the cultivators there. His traveling light did not slow down at all. When he saw the cloud mountain from afar, he kept his ancient sword and appeared at the peak of the sea of clouds in a flash. He stood in the sky outside the Heavenly Formation Palace. I want to borrow the Rain Monument to have a look. Humph. If you want to see the Rain Monument, you have to defeat me first. An elderly man in yellow robes seemed to have been waiting for a long time. With a flash of yellow light, he flew to the sky from the cloud mountain and stood opposite Ningfan on the sea of clouds. That elderly man in yellow robes was called Huang Gu. He had the chi of a void-pierce stage expert. The magic power around his body turned into yellow maple leaves. He was none other than the palace lord of the Heavenly Formation Palace. Huang Gu waved his hand and a dark yellow flag appeared in his palm. This flag of mine is called the Green Maple Flag of Emu. After being refined by my primordial spirit flame for more than 1,000 years, its power is unfathomable. Even a void-pierce stage expert might not be able to withstand it. You won't be able to. Is that so? Ningfan's expression remained unchanged. Humph. Since you don't know what's good for you, I won't show you any mercy. Would dragon appear? Huang Gu's magic power shook. His aura force shattered the sea of clouds within several 100,000 li. Then he waved the green maple flag of Emu. As his magic treasure shook, the shadows of countless yellow maple leaves appeared within several 100,000 li, condensing into a dark yellow wood dragon that was 7,000 zhang in size. The eyes of the wood dragon flashed with ferocious light. It opened its mouth and breathed out a gigantic yellow light pillar at Ningfan. The yellow light pillar was extremely fast. Wherever it passed through, the vast sky would crumble. Its destructive power was extremely strong. It was even slightly stronger than Marquis Long Nan's 7 lightning technique. Ningfan did not even look at the yellow light pillar. He touched his glabella and took out the Separation Slayer sword. He raised his hand and slashed the yellow light pillar vertically into 2. Then he kept the Separation Slayer sword. His black hair danced wildly in the wind. His 10 fingers suddenly formed a series of hand seals, and his eyes glowed with black flames. At the moment he made the hand seals, circles of gigantic black fire rings appeared with the wood dragon as the center. There were a total of 216 layers of the sea of fire rings. The entire sea of clouds was engulfed by the sea of fire. When the hollow eyes of the wood dragon came into contact with the black flames, it actually revealed a human-like expression of fear. The fire dragon let out a miserable shriek. In just an instant, it was burned into ashes by the black flame ring. With a cracking sound, a crack appeared on the treasure flag in Huang Gu's hand. It actually seemed to have suffered a heavy injury along with the destruction of the wood dragon. Before Huang Gu had the time to feel sorry for his natal magic treasure, the 9 black fire dragons from the Sea of Fire were already charging towards him. the black fire dragon was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, the sea of fire had already engulfed Huanggu. Ah! In the sea of fire, Huanggu screamed and fell out of the sea of fire like a kite with a broken string. He fell into the sea of clouds and landed heavily on the peak of the cloud mountain, creating a huge pit. Ning Fan opened his mouth and swallowed all the black flames into his stomach. Then, he landed on the cloud mountain of the Achievement Heaven Palace, and calmly looked at Huanggu, who was coughing out blood nonstop in the huge pit. I have already shown mercy. Otherwise, you would have died in the sea of fire. Cough cough cough. This old man thanks Hall Master Ning for showing mercy. I'll bring Hall Master Ning to see the rain monument now. Huanggu crawled up from the ground, still fearful of the power of the black flames. Even though he had fallen into the sea of clouds in a disheveled manner just now, he realized that his injuries were not serious after examining his body. Of course, it was because Ning Fan had been merciful. Even though Huanggu was arrogant, he would not be ungrateful. He immediately led Ning Fan into the belly of the mountain to see the rain monument. Hiss! All the revered elders and divine envoys of Achieving Heaven Palace were dumbfounded. They all knew that their palace lord was strong, especially the green maple flag, which was extraordinarily powerful. However, he was defeated by Ning Fan in just a single round. Initially, they did not believe the rumor that Ning Fan had defeated Marquis Longnan with a single finger. Now, it seemed like the rumor was indeed true. Ning Fan's combat power was already earth-shattering. Perhaps he had already reached the Void Pierce stage, unrivaled among Void Pierce stage experts. Other than the three palace lords of the Serene Heaven Palace, the Great Heaven Palace and the Vast Heaven Palace, who else could fight against him? If Marquis Whiterobe can defeat the 8th Palace Master by himself, the Scarlet Heaven Palace will become the #1 palace among the 9. Chi! A golden sword light rushed out of the belly of the cloudy mountain, ignoring everyone's surprise, and flew all the way to the Serene Heaven Palace, the 6th level of the Heavenly Cloud Realm, Nether Heaven Realm. Inside the remote Heaven Realm, Fengsheng stood proudly at the peak of the cloudy mountain. His body was emitting an unrivaled aura force of the Void Pierce stage, waiting for a battle with Ning Fan. He knew that Ning Fan would come. In the past, when he was in Song Country, he deeply regretted not having a battle with Ning Fan. Today he would make up for that regret and determine the victor of the battle with him. 10 years ago, even though he was barely defeated and died, his strength should still be slightly weaker than mine. 10 years later, will this young man be able to fight me equally? At this moment, the entire Heavenly Cloud country was in an uproar. Countless cultivators had already rushed to the remote Heaven Realm, waiting to watch the battle between the Palace Master of the Scarlet Heaven Palace and the Palace Master of the Serene Heaven Palace. Under the anticipation of countless cultivators, a golden sword light arrived at the cloudy mountain of the Serene Heaven Palace. Ning Fan stepped on the ancient golden sword and flew across the sea of clouds. He stared at the cloudy mountain coldly, and his battle intent soared to the sky. Fengsheng, fight me. Chapter 546. Fengsheng, fight me. At the moment when Ning Fan arrived, a heavy aura force which was like the arrival of a storm fell on the entire cloud mountain. All the cultivators in the vicinity of the cloud mountain, regardless of their cultivation base, felt their breathing becoming sluggish. They could barely withstand Ning Fan's powerful aura force. Yu Chong looked up at the sea of clouds and stared in disbelief at the white-clothed youth standing coldly on the ancient golden sword. At this moment, Ning Fan was no longer as easygoing as he was in the past. His eyes were filled with conviction, the conviction to sweep through the 8 palaces. At this moment, Ning Fan was just like the time when he fought in the Blood Dragon Pool in the past. His aura force was unstoppable. Did Marquis Whiterobe challenge the other 8 palace masters to comprehend the Rain Monument or to establish his might? Yu Bai pondered deeply. No, none of them. He must have an extremely important reason to defeat all 8 of them alone. Yu Chong muttered to herself. The eyes of all the revered elders of the Serene Heaven Palace were filled with respect. None of the Divine Transformation Realm cultivators present could resist Ning Fan's aura force. All of them were suppressed by his aura force and could not move at all. Revered snow couldn't do it. The ugly man Yun Lai couldn't do it. Divine messenger Yun Kuang, who was just a nascent soul realm cultivator, naturally couldn't do it either. He was directly suppressed to the ground by Ning Fan's aura force. In the past in Great Jin, Yun Kuang had repeatedly made things difficult for Ning Fan for Yin Suqiu's sake. However, Ning Fan had destroyed his Dao heart. 50 years had passed and Yun Kuang's cultivation was unable to advance. He had failed to break through the bottleneck time and time again. During the last attempt, his eyes were destroyed by the heavenly tribulation. 50 years ago, he was a nascent soul old monster, and Ning Fan was just a harmonious spirit ant. 50 years later, just a trace of Ning Fan's qi would be enough to make him unable to stand. Compared to him, I Yun Kuang am nothing. I'm just an ant. I'm just an ant. Yun Kuang laid on the ground, feeling disheartened. Ning Fan stood on the clouds and kept his ancient sword. He did not even look at Yun Kuang. Back then, this person was inferior to him, and now, he was even more inferior. His gaze was only focused on Fang Sheng, waiting for him to accept the challenge. You have defeated Marquis Long Nan and Huanggu consecutively. I'm afraid that you already possess unrivaled combat strength of a Void Pierce stage expert. Let me see if you can fight against me equally. Qi. Fang Sheng's old eyes flashed, and his body turned into a snow-white escape light. In an instant he appeared at the top of the sea of clouds. His aura was like a violent gale, and his white robe fluttered. He activated his magic power, and an ocean of void appeared beneath his feet. Standing in the sea of void, Fang Sheng's magic power seemed endless. He raised one of his fingers. The tip of his finger shone with an extremely dazzling cloud light. He pressed his finger down at Ning Fan and shouted coldly, "Cloud Dragon Art." As soon as the cloud light dispersed, millions of white clouds suddenly appeared around Ning Fan. Each of the white clouds had a ghost face which was grinning hideously. The millions of ghost faces swallowed the clouds and mist at the same time. In just a moment, all of Ning Fan's aura force was devoured. Traces of magic power even flowed out of Ning Fan's body and were devoured by the ghost faces. Ning Fan could feel that the magic power in his body was temporarily draining away. His eyes turned slightly cold, and he tried to burn the clouds and mist in the sky with his devil flames. However, as soon as he activated the demonic fire, his magic power flowed even faster. Even his essence qi began to flow away. Moreover, Ning Fan had a feeling that this ghost face cloud could devour most magical techniques. Even the black flame couldn't hurt it. Fang Sheng's magical technique was very strange. This is a peak mortal void realm magical technique, the Cloud Dragon Art. A divine transformation realm venerated elder regained his mobility and exclaimed in shock. Hall Master Fang Sheng had used this technique to drain the magic power of a few Void Pierce stage cultivators. Once this technique is activated, Marquis White Robe's magic power will be completely devoured by the ghost face cloud in just a short while. This ghost face cloud can devour magic power. All magic attacks will be absorbed by this cloud. It is said that only cultivators who cultivate a special sense can resist this cloud. Once Marquis White Robe loses his magic power, he won't be a match for Hall Master Fang Sheng no matter how strong he is. The discussions on the Cloud Mountain entered Ning Fan's ears. In just a few breaths' time, 70% of his magic power and essence qi had been consumed by the ghost face cloud. He looked at the cloud of ghost face cloud in the sky. His eyes suddenly flashed with determination, and he released his sword sense. In the sea of clouds, a drop of thick ink spread in the vast sky. In an instant, it turned into an ink-colored sword light that blotted out the sky and the sun, destroying countless ghost-faced clouds and mist. Sword sense, huh? As expected, I can't defeat you with the Cloud Dragon Art. Fish net of creation. When Fang Sheng saw that his Cloud Dragon Art was broken, he was not too surprised. It was already a good result to be able to consume 70% of Ning Fan's magic power with this technique at the very beginning. At this moment, Fang Sheng already had the confidence to win. He pointed his finger at Ning Fan. Traces of white magic power shot out from his finger and interweaved into a gigantic fishing net. He raised the fishing net in the sky, and it instantly multiplied into tens of thousands of pieces. Tens of thousands of fishing nets flew toward Ning Fan at the same time. The lines of the fishing net were extremely tough. Even a void pierce stage attack would not be able to destroy it. Even 10 years ago in Song Country, Ning Fan, who had yet to gather all the heavenly frost earth flames, could not destroy this fishing net with his yin-yang flame. Even an absolute void stage attack might not be able to destroy this fishing net. Besides, Fangxing did not think that Ning Fan, who had lost most of his magic power, would be able to cast a magic technique on the scale of the absolute void stage with just 30% of his magic power. You have lost. Don't worry. I will only use the fishing net to wrap you up. I won't hurt you. However, since you can't defeat me, you won't be able to comprehend anything under the Rain Monument. It's still too early for you to defeat me with your Void Inquiry Stage cultivation base. Is that so? All of a sudden, Ning Fan took a step in the sky. The vast sky shattered, revealing a boundless hollow space. He grabbed the ground and extracted the 400,000 Li of the Earth Soul. Then he grabbed the void space and extracted the 400,000 Li of the Void Soul. Then he opened his mouth and swallowed the Earth Soul and the Void Soul into his abdomen. 10 million units of magic power were added to his body out of nowhere. All of a sudden, Ning Fan's aura force rose steadily. The magic power in his body instantly reached 2 million units. His magic power was even denser than Fangxing's soul extraction technique. Moreover, it's actually the second level of the void soul extraction technique. Fangxing's eyes turned pale with fright. The soul extraction technique was one of the 3 void fragmentation realm divine abilities. However, not all void fragmentation realm old monsters knew this technique. Besides, the Rain Sovereign was the only one who could cultivate the soul extraction technique to the second level in the entire Rain world. Ning Fan was actually the second cultivator in the Rain world who could extract the void soul extraction technique. Incinerate. Ning Fan pointed a finger at the sky above his head, pointing at the tens of thousands of fishing nets of fortune. Black flames spread across the sea of clouds. 9 unrivaled black fire dragons rushed out of the sea of flames. They breathed out flames, burning the fishing nets into ashes with ease. 10 years had passed, and he had already obtained 24 types of heavenly cold earth flames. The destructive power of his devil flames was comparable to a high-grade 7 spirit fire. If this fishing net is cast by a void fragmentation realm cultivator, Ning Fan might not be able to destroy it. However, if it is cast by Fangxing, it would be a different story. What? Fangxing was shocked once again. The fishing nets of fortune were a supreme secret technique that the 6th prince had given him. However, they were all burned into ashes by Ning Fan's black flames. What kind of spirit fire is that? Does the Rain world have such a high grade of spirit fire? Before he could recover from the shock, his back suddenly broke out in cold sweat. The 9 fire dragons turned their heads towards Fangxing at the same time. Their eyes were filled with bloodthirstiness. These 9 black dragons were transformed from a high-grade 7 spirit fire. Even the void fragmentation realm cultivators in the Rain world did not have such a high grade of flame. Ning Fan cast the black flames with his magic power, which was close to that of an absolute void stage cultivator. Even an absolute void stage cultivator would not be able to withstand the burning of the fire dragons. The 9 fire dragons rushed towards Fangxing, bringing along a sea of flames which engulfed him. In just a few breaths, Fangxing fell out of the sea of flames, falling from the sky and landing heavily on the peak of Cloud Mountain, just like Huanggu. Ning Fan did not say much. He swallowed the black flames and landed on the peak of Cloud Mountain. Fangxing got up from the huge pit. He looked at Ning Fan with a complicated expression and said with a sigh, "I lost." Fangxing knew that Ning Fan had already shown him mercy. Otherwise, with Ning Fan's terrifying magic power after using the soul extracting technique, the might of such a high-grade black flames was definitely not something that he, Fangxing, could withstand. Other than absolute void stage cultivators, no one could withstand the might of Ning Fan's black flames. Marquis White Robe, follow me. I will bring you to the belly of the mountain to comprehend the Rain Monument of the Serene Heaven Palace. Ning Fan did not say much and followed Fangxing into the belly of Cloud Mountain. The cultivators in the entire Cloud Mountain, including those at the Serene Heaven Realm, and those at other cultivation levels, were all silent. The serene Heaven Palace has also been defeated. Only the Great Heaven Palace and the Great Heaven Palace can withstand Marquis White Robe's sharpness. In my opinion, even the Great Heaven Palace might not be able to defeat Marquis White Robe. After all, that Palace Master of the Great Heaven Palace is merely an unrivaled Void Pierce stage expert. I'm afraid that only Palace Master Hao Tian can defeat him. After all, that Palace Master Hao Tian is an absolute Void stage expert. Gee! After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, Ningfan flew out of the belly of the mountain and headed to the next realm. Along the way, he consumed medicinal pills to recover his dermic power. 3 days later, he arrived at the profound heaven realm. The 7th stage of the heavenly cloud realm, the mysterious heaven realm. 3 days ago, countless cultivators had already heard the news of Palace Master Yu Tian's defeat. One by one, they rushed to the mystic heaven mirror with the help of various teleportation arrays in the heavenly cloud nation, waiting to see another big battle. At this moment, none of the cultivators doubted Ningfan's determination to challenge the 8 palaces. Be it comprehending the Rain Monument or establishing his prestige and fame, the reason why Ningfan challenged the 8 palaces was not what the crowd was concerned about. Everyone just wanted to know if Ningfan could defeat the other 8 palace masters with his own strength and become the champion of the 9 palaces. A ray of golden sword light flew across the sea of clouds and landed on the peak of the profound heaven palace. Ningfan was standing on the clouds, overlooking the profound heaven palace on the mountain. This profound heaven palace was a branch palace of the Rain Palace's 3rd prince, Yunbushu. In the Rain world, the profound heaven palace was the only branch palace that had a good relationship with the Great Heaven Palace. In the Rain world, the only prince who had a life and death friendship with Yun Tianjue was Yunbushu. Ningfan sighed. He already knew that he was the son of Yun Tianjue. Logically speaking, it was not appropriate for him to challenge the palace master of the profound heaven palace and humiliate him. However, in order to obtain the complete rain technique and to search for his mother in the entire middle state, he had no choice but to fight. He closed his eyes indifferently and said with a clear voice, Ningfan has no intention of becoming enemies with the profound heaven palace. It's just that in order to borrow the rain viewing monument, I have no choice but to fight the palace master of the profound heaven palace. Please forgive me, Palace Master. Cough cough. Marquis White Robe, you must be joking. How would I dare to fight Marquis White Robe? I admit defeat. An elderly man wearing bright yellow dragon robes cupped his fists at Ningfan's direction and admitted defeat on the peak of the mountain. This person had white hair and a pale face. He had an awe-inspiring aura and a domineering king chi. However, his cultivation base was just at the void glimpse stage. Ningfan was slightly stunned. He had met this person once before. In the past, when he was in the external endless sea, he killed revered Flame and offended the Rain Palace. However, he was recommended by 2 void refinement realm experts of the Rain Palace to be a revered elder of the Rain Palace. Luo Jun was promoted from a low-grade palace master to the palace master of the profound heaven palace, one of the 9 palaces, with the credit of finding the inextinguishable fire body. Yun Bushu, who guarded the profound heaven palace, was known as the Free Cloud Prince. As for Luo Jun, he was also a person without great ambitions. He only wanted to spend his days in the profound heaven palace without any intention of competing with others. Originally, he wanted to live a leisurely life as the palace master of the profound heaven palace, hoping to break through to the void inquiry stage while he was still alive. Who would have thought that the dignified Marquis White Robe would actually challenge a mere void glimpse stage cultivator like him? How would he dare to accept the challenge? Even Marquis Long Nan, Huanggu and Fang Sheng were defeated by Ningfan in a row. He was just a void glimpse stage cultivator. He probably could not even withstand a single finger attack from Ningfan. I admit defeat. Marquis White Robe, you can follow me into the mountain and look at the rain viewing monument. All right. Ningfan nodded his head. He kept the ancient sword and descended on the peak of Cloud Mountain. He was also unwilling to bully a void glimpse stage cultivator of the profound heaven palace with his powerful cultivation base and become enemies with Yin Bushu. The 2 of them entered the belly of the mountain and the entire mysterious heaven cloud mountain was filled with emotions. I didn't expect that the dignified palace master mysterious heaven would admit defeat directly. However, this is a wise move. With his cultivation base, he's definitely not a match for Marquis White Robe. We've come to the profound heaven realm, but we don't have the chance to participate in the void refinement realm. What a pity. It's better for us to quickly find the teleportation formation and head to the next realm and wait for Marquis White Robe's arrival. On top of the cloudy mountain, a handsome young master sighed with emotion. He was a heaven's pride of the mysterious heaven palace, the adopted son of Yin Bushu, Yin Niansu. The #1 genius of this generation in Rain Immortal World is none other than him. Ning Fan, huh? I, Yin Niansu, am not as good as him. But I don't understand why foster father wants to see him. Inside the belly of the mountain, Ning Fan followed Luo Jun across the formation light and entered the palace. Then they walked straight towards the main hall. Luo Jun smiled apologetically along the way. He could not afford to offend a heaven-shaking figure like Ning Fan. The 9,000 feet tall monument of the rain ancestor emitted the intent of rain that moistened everything. Luo Jun pointed at the monument and introduced it. Marquis White Robe, please take a look. This is the rain monument of my profound heaven palace. Marquis White Robe, you must be careful when you're comprehending the rain monument. Don't get hurt by the tremors of the monument. Third prince. Luo Jun was halfway through his sentence when he was suddenly startled. He immediately cupped his fists and saluted. Behind the monument, a young man in ragged clothes who looked like a beggar slowly walked out. His hair was messy like grass and his beard was unkempt. However, his appearance was extremely handsome and manly. His expression was carefree and unrestrained, as if nothing in the world was enough to make him worry. He did not reveal any of his chi. Other people would not know what his cultivation base was exactly. However, Ning Fan could sense a vast aura force from his body which was comparable to a second heavenly layer void fragmentation realm cultivator. He was the third prince of the Rain Palace, Yin Bushu. Oh my, we meet again. When we met in the sinister Sparrow sect in the past, you were just a tiny harmonious spirit realm cultivator. I didn't expect that you would actually reach this level after 50 years. That's right. I don't have a good memory. What's your name again? Su, it's Marquis White Robe. Luo Jun reminded him softly. Yes. It's Su. Su what? Oh my, I forgot again. Forget it. My memory is getting worse every day. It's very difficult for me to remember anything. Yin Bushu patted his forehead and laughed. He was still as straightforward as he was in the past. When his unruly eyes fell upon the blue jade on Ning Fan's neck, he suddenly froze. The blue bridge jade. This jade is really in your hands. Good boy. I can't believe I was deceived by you in the past. Yin Bushu withdrew all of his smiles and revealed a serious expression. With a wave of his hand, a gust of wind directly rolled Luo Jun up and sent him out of the mountain. I have something to ask you. Where did this jade come from? Yin Bushu stood with his hands clasped behind his back. There was no longer a hint of playfulness on his face. Ning Fan looked at Yin Bushu indifferently. He was not afraid at all. He was also not surprised that Yin Bushu could recognize this jade. When he peeped into Yin Ruowe's mind that day, he already knew that this jade was the Blue Bridge Jade. Even though the Blue Bridge Jade was an ancient item, it had no other use other than to pledge their love to each other. In the past, Yin Tianjue and Ning Qian had pledged their love to the Blue Bridge Jade. No one else knew about this. In other words, those who knew the meaning of this jade were not outsiders. In the past, Yin Bushu's purpose in searching for this jade in Yu country was different from the Rain Sovereign's. The Rain Sovereign was looking for someone who could threaten his life, but Yin Bushu was looking for the wife and son of an old friend. Yin Ruowe was not an outsider, and neither was Yin Bushu. In Yin Ruowe's mind, Yin Bushu and Yin Tianjue had been through life and death together. I can tell you the origin of this jade. However, I want to know why Yin Tianjue lost his memory, and why Ning Qian went missing. Ning Fan's eyes were also unusually serious. Even if Yin Bushu did not come to him today, he would find an opportunity to do so. The reason why he fought the 8 palaces alone was to comprehend the Rain Ancestors' technique and find his mother's whereabouts. Other than finding his mother's whereabouts, he also wanted to know the truth of what happened in the past. Who was the one who drained his bloodline and caused Ningqian's life and death to be unknown? You really are their child. As soon as Yin Bushu heard Ningfan's question, he immediately seemed to have confirmed something. His face revealed a half-happy and half-sad expression. He was happy because he found Ningfan. He was sad because he could hear the hidden meaning in Ningfan's words. Ningfan did not know Ningqian's whereabouts. He also did not know the truth of what happened in the past. I'm not too clear about what happened in the past. In fact, I should say that no one in the Rain world knows about it. No one knows how Ningqian went missing. However, I saw with my own eyes why Big Brother lost his memory. On that day, I saw a ray of 7-colored light soaring into the sky. Within the light, there was the figure of an elderly man. He was the one who erased Big Brother's memory. Yin Bushu's face was filled with rage. He had never hated anyone so much before. However, that mysterious 7-colored elderly man was definitely someone he must hate. The 4th prince of the Rain Palace, who has already perished, is also with the 7-colored old man. Chapter 547. 7-colored old man. Who is this person? Even though he still did not know the truth of what happened in the past, he could vaguely guess that the ones who murdered Ningqian and extracted his bloodline were most likely the 4th prince and the 7-colored elderly man. In this case, it made sense that Yin Tianjua had killed the 4th prince in a fit of rage. However, who exactly was that 7-colored old man? I don't know. I don't know who he is. I can't even see his face. I only know that he's very strong. He's definitely not a cultivator from the lower realm. If he's a cultivator from the upper realm, why would he take the risk of violating the law of heaven and attack us? Yin Bushu's eyes were burning with anger. Big Brother's memories were erased along with his 7 emotions. He forgot that he had a wife and a son. From then on, he couldn't laugh or cry. The world said that he abandoned his emotions to cultivate the sword. It was a huge mistake. His emotions and his memories were forever erased. After he lost his memories, your mother and you disappeared. Perhaps it was also the doing of the 4th prince and the 7-colored old man. You should be able to tell what kind of intent realm I am comprehending, right? Yin Bushu looked at Ningfan and tested him. If I'm not mistaken, you should be comprehending the intent realm of forgetfulness, and it belongs to the divine intent realm, because the deeper your comprehension of the intent realm is, the worse your memory will be. One day, when you reach the peak of this intent realm, I'm afraid that you will even forget who you are. Ningfan answered. His intent realm was to recall while Yin Bushu's intent realm was to forget. That's right. I comprehended the divine decree of forgetfulness. The reason why I comprehended this divine decree was to find a way to recover my memories from my forgetfulness and help Big Brother recover his memories. Although Big Brother and I are not biological brothers, he treats me like a younger brother, so I regard him as my brother. As long as Big Brother can remember everything, even if I lose my memories in the end, it doesn't matter. Even if you take my life, as long as you can make Big Brother smile again. So what? It's just that after 1,000 years, I still haven't found the method to help Big Brother recover his memories. I heard that Thunder Emperor Buzhou is proficient in the White Lightning memory extinguishing technique, and also the divine ability to recover memories. Unfortunately, he had already fallen 10,000 years ago. I'm afraid there's no one in the Rain world who can help Big Brother recover his memories. Yin Bushu closed his eyes and sighed. Ningfan, on the other hand, remained silent. He initially thought that if the person who harmed his mother and son was someone from the Rain Palace, he would dare to kill even the Rain Sovereign. From the looks of it now, it was the 4th prince and the other 7-colored old man who had harmed him and his mother. However, was the Rain Emperor really unrelated to this matter? Who exactly is this 7-colored old man? Ningfan frowned. The truth of what happened 1,000 years ago was too far away. It was hard to find out. Compared to this, the most important thing was to learn the Rain Ancestors' technique and search for his mother in the entire central continent. He didn't have a deep father-son relationship with Yin Tianjue. At most, he admired and was grateful to Yin Tianjue. He didn't have a deep mother-son relationship with Ning Qian. However, his mother had given him the blood that he had lost and given him a chance to live again. No matter what, he had to find his mother. He must. You still haven't told me where your blue jade came from, Yin Bushu asked. Blue jade? I was sealed in the demon cocoon for 1,000 years. This jade was left by my mother. Ning Fan recalled the illusions he saw in the weeping blood forest. For a moment, he remained silent and did not say anything else. Yin Bushu sighed. Ning Fan didn't mention anything about Ning Qian's whereabouts. It seemed like he didn't know either. Yin Bushu looked at Ning Fan again and sighed. So that's how it is. No wonder your bone age is so strange. It turns out that you have used the demon cocoon to conceal yourself from the heavens. Sleeping for 1,000 years and waking up in a day. Not everyone has the chance to sleep in the demon cocoon for 1,000 years. If I have a choice, I would rather not have the chance to sleep for 1,000 years. Ning Fan felt a pain in his heart and did not say anything else. He had already understood some of the truth from Yin Bushu, but he didn't have the mood to reminisce with him. He didn't forget his original intention. The reason he came to the profound heaven palace was to study the rain monument. I still have something to do. If there's a chance, I'll talk to the third prince next time. But now, I must study the rain monument. I hope that the third prince won't tell anyone about what we've discussed today, including Yin Tianjue. You call me the third prince and big brother Yin Tianjue. Cough cough. This is really a strange way of addressing each other. Fine. I won't tell anyone about what happened today. You continue to study the rain monument. I won't disturb you any longer. I'm going to find someone to gamble with. Nowadays, many places in the heavenly Cloud 10 realms are betting on whether you, the palace lord of the Scarlet Heaven Palace, can defeat the people from the other 8 palaces. I'm very confident in you. Of course, I'll bet on you winning. I'm sure I can earn a lot of immortal jade this time. I'm going now. Yin Bushu smiled like a ruffian. With a sway of his body, he turned into a ray of light and left. Ning Fan shook his head helplessly. Did someone set him up to gamble again? He didn't immediately study the rain monument. Instead, he asked Luoyu who was in his mind. Little you heir, have you heard of any experts in the 4 heavens who emitted 7-colored light from their bodies? 7-colored light? That might not be light, but the color of fate. 7-colored fate that manifests like a rainbow. Normally, only immortal emperors can cultivate 7-colored fate. Some true immortals have the opportunity to cultivate 3-colored fate when they are only at the 3rd level of the true immortal realm. The one who harmed your parents should be an immortal emperor. However, there are many immortal emperors in the 4 heavens. It's difficult to find out the identity of this person with just this clue. Immortal emperor, huh? Ning Fan stood under the black heaven rain monument in silence for a long time. After a long time, he calmed himself down. Only then did he spread out his spirit sense and began to study the monument. After the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, he turned around and left. Before he left, his entire body emitted intense battle intent again. After he got out of the mountain, he stepped on the ancient golden sword and headed straight for the 8th level. The 8th level of the heavenly cloud realm, the heavenly transformation realm. There were many female cultivators in the heavenly transformation realm, and even more body cultivators. Yu Chong, Ur's master, was the female void fragmentation realm, who was in charge of the heavenly transformation palace. Yin Qingge. Not only had her magic power reached the 1st heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm, but her body refinement realm had also reached the 1st heavenly layer of the nirvana realm. The name of the heavenly transformation palace's master was Fairy Yunji. Her magic power was at the void inquiry stage, while her body refinement realm had already reached the upper middle level of the 3rd level of the golden body realm. With just the strength of her body refinement realm, she could suppress ordinary void pierce stage experts. Ning Fan traveled at full speed, passing through countless cultivation cities and headed straight for the Cloud Mountain of the heavenly transformation realm. Gradually, the Cloud Mountain came into view. On the peak of the mountain stood a lady with a cold expression. She looked about 27 or 28 years old. She wore a blood-red battle armor, and her body was emitting golden light. A golden body realm cultivator. That lady was none other than the lord of the heavenly transformation palace. Ning Fan kept his ancient sword and stood at the peak of the sea of clouds. He looked at the cloud mountain with a slight frown. As if he had discovered something, he stopped moving forward. The moment he arrived, the entire cloud mountain was in an uproar. Marquis White Robe is here. This is the 5th battle where he swept the 8 palaces of the Heavenly Cloud Palace. Can he win or not? Palace Lord Yunji patted her storage pouch and took out a formation token. All of a sudden, layers of cloud light spread out along the cloud mountain of the Heavenly Transformation Palace. Wherever the formation light passed by, the cultivators felt their bodies turning soft. It was extremely difficult for them to circulate their magic power. All of them exclaimed in surprise. This is a magic destruction grand formation. It's a special grand formation that restricts the circulation of magic power. Judging from the formation light, I'm afraid it has already reached the peak mortal void stage. Even if an absolute void stage cultivator enters the formation light by mistake, it would be difficult for him to circulate his magic power. Could it be that Palace Lord Yunji wants to open this formation because she wants to compete with Marquis White Robe in terms of physical strength inside the formation? Rumor has it that Marquis White Robe is an ancient devil. He is invincible among Void Inquiry stage experts with just his physical body. However, Palace Lord Yunji's physical body is even stronger. She can even defeat a Void Pierce stage expert. If Marquis White Robe enters the Magic Destruction Grand Formation with just his physical body, his chances of winning aren't very high. Ning Fan only glanced at the Grand Formation and did not look at it anymore. Then he said with a clear voice, I came here just for the Rain Monument. I've heard that Marquis White Robe's ancient devil body is very strong. Therefore, I'm bold enough to invite you to enter this formation for a battle. If Marquis White Robe can win against me with just your physical body, I will certainly bring you to study the Rain Monument of my Heavenly Transformation Palace. Marquis White Robe, do you dare to enter the formation? Yunji took a step forward and stood on the sea of clouds in the middle of the formation light. Her beautiful eyes were filled with a hint of battle intent. Ning Fan did not say much. He used his actions to express his attitude. Then he also leaped into the formation light. As for the Magic Destruction Grand Formation, he would fight Yunji with just his physical body. Of course, he was not afraid. Since Marquis White Robe has entered the formation, I won't show you any mercy. Void Technique, Cloud Phoenix. Golden light shone around Yunji's body. Her soft fists seemed to have turned into pure gold, as she threw a punch at Ning Fan from a distance away. As she threw the punch, the shadow of a white phoenix appeared on her lotus-like arm. As she threw the punch, the sea of clouds within 300,000 li turned into countless snow-white phoenix shadows. Each of the phoenix shadows crumbled one after another, turning into an unimaginable force of the collapse fist. They condensed into 21 gigantic fists made of clouds and mist and smashed at Ning Fan. Each of the gigantic fists made of clouds and mist was comparable to a Void Glimpse stage attack. Even an ordinary Void Pierce stage cultivator might not be able to withstand the combined force of 21 punches. This is my strongest attack. Even an ordinary Void Pierce stage cultivator. She revealed a confident smile. However, at the next moment, the smile froze on her face. Ning Fan's body glowed with dark golden black light. His devil chi soared into the sky. With a shake of his body, he turned into a 6,000 zhang tall black armored giant. The black armored giant threw 21 consecutive punches, shattering all of the cloud phoenix shadows and letting out a thunderous roar. He was the Reckless Devil. The Reckless Devil gave off an extremely terrifying aura, causing Yunji to shiver uncontrollably. It was a feeling of weakness. Yunji's body refinement realm was not weak. However, in front of a true ancient devil, her breathing actually became a little sluggish. She was subdued by the devil might of the Reckless Devil. This is the might of an ancient devil. Yunji's face turned pale. She suddenly raised her head and bit the tip of her tongue to suppress the fear in her heart. With a shake of her body, she also turned into a 6,000 zhang tall blood-armored female giant. The female giant's body glowed with golden light. All of a sudden, she pounced at the reckless devil giant. Each of her punches was powerful enough to split mountains and rivers. The reckless devil giant did not take half a step back. He suddenly raised his palm and threw one punch, 10 punches and then 100 punches at the female giant. Boom, boom, boom. After exchanging 100 punches, the bones in the female giant's fists were all broken. She was severely injured and showed signs of losing. Her entire body was covered in blood, while the reckless devil giant remained unscathed. The female giant let out a sigh and withdrew her giant avatar. She immediately consumed a pill to suppress her injuries. Then she cupped her fists at the reckless devil giant and said in a self-mocking manner, "I'm not Marquis White Robe's opponent. Thank you for showing mercy." As the palace lord of the Heavenly Transformation Palace, she was still defeated by Ning Fan, even though she had activated the Magic Destruction formation and competed in body refinement. She had no choice but to admit defeat. The 9th level of the Heavenly Cloud Realm, the Great Heaven Realm. The palace lord of the Great Heaven Palace, Lu Yu, was an unrivaled void-pierce stage sword cultivator. He had been cultivating the Tao for 9,000 years, and had painstakingly practiced his sword techniques. After receiving several pointers from Yin Tianjue, his sword techniques were divine, and he could even put up a fight against an absolute void stage cultivator. He had been standing on the peak of the cloud mountain of the Great Heaven Palace for 3 days. His white hair fluttered in the wind, and his gray robes fluttered in the wind. He carried a red sandalwood sword case on his back. Both of his eyes were tightly shut, and there was a terrifying sword wound on each of them. He was a blind sword cultivator. When the sea of clouds began to tumble, he did not even need to look at Ning Fan. He had already sensed the hidden sword intent around Ning Fan's body, and knew that his opponent had already arrived. "Are you Marquis White Robe? You're just 900 years old, but you can actually cultivate to this level. You're really extraordinary." Lu Yu's voice was hoarse and deep. However, there was a trace of sword intent that was as heavy as the clouds in his voice. As soon as he finished speaking, the cloud light within the radius of hundreds of thousands of li turned into sword shadows and faded away. "Are you the palace lord of the Great Heaven Palace? You destroyed both of your eyes just to comprehend the sword. You're really a sword maniac." Other people use their eyes to comprehend the sword, and their thoughts to control the sword. You, on the other hand, comprehend the sword with your heart and control the sword with the clouds. Wherever your heart goes, the clouds go. There's nothing that can't become a sword. Even a cloud or a rain can turn into a flying sword to kill your enemy. Ning Fan kept the ancient golden sword and landed on the peak of the Sea of Clouds, revealing the profound principle of Lu Yu's sword technique. Lu Yu was slightly surprised. He did not expect that his sword technique would be seen through by Ning Fan with just a glance. Thus, he could not help but think more highly of Ning Fan. "Marquis White Robe's eyesight isn't bad. However, your eyesight alone isn't enough to see through the profound principle of my sword technique. If you want to comprehend the Rain Monument, you'll have to defeat me first." Chilu's body suddenly dispersed into countless rays of sword light. At the next moment, they gathered at the peak of the Sea of Clouds again, forming a virtual shadow of sword light that confronted Ning Fan from afar. Countless cultivators in the surroundings of the Cloud Mountain were inexplicably shocked. Even Ning Fan was a little surprised. Sword Light Incarnation. This Lu Yu had actually cultivated the Sword Light Incarnation technique. After turning into the virtual shadow of sword light, Lu Yu's aura force rose sharply. He stepped on the Sea of Void and his sword intent was as obscure as the Sea of Clouds. However, it was enough to make cultivators of the Absolute Void stage look at him. "Marquis White Robe, you're not my match. Leave now." That might not be the case. Ning Fan took a step forward. Void sword shadows suddenly appeared around his body. When the void sword shadows appeared, Lu Yu, who was originally calm and composed, immediately revealed a shocked expression. His sword light incarnation that could be immune to almost all damage actually felt a trace of danger from this void sword shadow. Little Void Sword. Marquis Yugui's famous technique, when he was at the void fragmentation realm, was copied by Ningfan using his devil eyes after the Battle of the 100 Sections. The sword shadows of the Little Void Sword were illusory. It could even injure a cultivator's incarnation. Lu Yu's face showed some hesitation. He was thinking about how to deal with Ningfan's void sword technique. This technique was rather tricky to deal with as it could break his sword light incarnation. All of a sudden, 5 soft snorts came from the sword case on his back. Little foolish, don't be afraid. Big sister will help you break his sword force. Second sister will help you break his sword shadow. Third sister will help you break his sword intent. Fourth sister will help you break his sword formation. 5. She's just stuttering. Ignore her. She wants to say that she will help you destroy this person's flying swords. Come on, let's break one. Ningfan did not know what was inside the sword case, but his tone was really arrogant. Don't forget that it was the 5 of us who taught you this sword light incarnation. Humph. As long as this person is a sword cultivator, he will definitely not be our match. Lu Yu's face turned red. With his 9,000 years old bone age, it was really embarrassing for him to be called little foolish by a few little girls. If these 5 little girls were to attack him, Ningfan would certainly not be afraid. However, Lu Yu, he did not want to obtain victory with the help of others. As a sword cultivator, he would only rely on the sword in his hand to obtain victory. He disdained unorthodox methods. I want to fight him with my own abilities. Because I am a sword cultivator. Winning or losing is secondary. My sword heart must not be cowardly. Tisk. 5 disdainful hisses immediately resounded from inside the sword case. Little foolish is really inflexible. Let's just find a new pet to play with. Chapter 548. The surrounding cultivators held their breaths. Many of them who did not have a high cultivation base could not even withstand the sword chi around the cloud mountain. Lu Yu ascended to the top of the cloud. Even though he was blind, his mind was as clear as snow. He could not see Ningfan's appearance, but he could feel Ningfan's unusually young bone age, and the unusually terrifying void sword light surrounding Ningfan's body. Facing Ningfan now, even if Lu Yu uses his sword light incarnation technique, he still did not have the confidence to win. He suddenly raised his hand and clawed at the sea of clouds from afar. The sea of clouds that stretched for hundreds of thousands of li suddenly trembled, and countless cracks appeared on it. Rays of golden light shone from the cracks in the sea of clouds and flowed out, condensing into a golden cloud sword in Lu Yu's palm. That golden cloud sword was a magic sword. It did not have a sharp edge, but it could strangely trigger the great momentum of heaven and earth. Lu Yu flicked his wrist and the golden sword flashed. He suddenly pointed at Ningfan's sword light, and the sea of clouds immediately rolled. The clouds of heaven and earth are all my swords. The momentum of the soft clouds can suppress all directions. Countless clouds in the sky suddenly connected with each other with great momentum, turning into an aura force that could topple mountains and overturn seas, pressing down on Ningfan's head. Large areas of the hollow space were crushed and crushed. An unusually heavy pressure hit Ningfan's body, making it difficult for him to breathe. His eyes flashed with a hint of surprise. Lu Yu's sword technique was clearly a sword of great momentum, which was extremely similar to his heaven-treading 9 steps. Even though the clouds were soft and soft, the softer the cloud, the sword that was condensed from it would have the most masculine sword intent and sword momentum. Lu Yu continued to shake the sword light. The momentum of the clouds in the sky became stronger and stronger. In the beginning, the momentum of the clouds was only equivalent to that of a void-pierced stage expert. However, as the momentum of the clouds increased, Ningfan had an illusion that it was not the clouds that were suppressing him, but an old monster at the first heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm. Under the vast momentum of the clouds, Ningfan felt as if he was carrying a mountain on his back. His bones began to creak, and he almost fell off the cloud. As for Lu Yu, he was still shaking the sword light, and the momentum of the clouds was still increasing. Perhaps it would not take long before Lu Yu could raise the momentum of the clouds to the second heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm, and injure Ning Fan completely, forcing him to fall off the cloud. Only Ning Fan could withstand the force of the clouds with just his physical body. If it is any other void refinement realm expert, or even a void pierce stage expert, they would be severely injured by the force of the clouds and fall from the sky. The weak sword has a strong intent while the soft sword has a strong intent. This Lu Yu's cloud fusion force is indeed extraordinary. However, even a first heavenly layer void fragmentation realm cultivator can forget about suppressing me with force. Not even Lu Yu can do it. It's impossible to form a sword without momentum. The sword of great momentum isn't unbreakable. Ning Fan's eyes were filled with fierce battle intent. His body seemed to have turned into an ancient sword that hung high in the sky. Under the heavy aura of the clouds, sword light shone around Ning Fan's body, and he suddenly took the first step forward. This step seemed as if he'd stepped on the heaven Tao, and it caused circle after circle of ripples in the heavens and the earth that were like ripples of water. That step was clearly stepping on the sky, but it seemed to be stepping on the hearts of countless cultivators in the surroundings, causing everyone to raise their eyebrows. At this moment, Ning Fan seemed to be above the heaven and earth. There was a kind of aura around him that could not be ignored. After he took that step, the cloud force within the radius of 100 li suddenly shattered, turning into strong gales that swept across the sea of clouds in all directions. Lu Yu's face was filled with shock. To his horror, he realized that his sword of cloud force was being broken bit by Ning Fan. One should know that this sort of cloud force focused on combining with momentum. Lu Yu had cultivated it for 1,000 years. Against a void pierce stage expert, he usually only needed a single sword of cloud light to suppress them. Even an ordinary absolute void stage cultivator would find it hard to break the sword force of Lu Yu's sword. However, Ning Fan just took a step forward and broke his sword force of soft clouds. The weaker the sword was, the stronger the sword intent and sword force it possessed. Due to the weakness of the sword of soft clouds, its cloud force was shocking. Ning Fan did not have a sword in his hand, but there was a sword in his heart. His sword force without a sword was even stronger than the sword force of the soft clouds. The sword force of this 9 steps heaven treading was a sword technique that created something out of nothing. Among all the sword cultivators that I've met in my life, there are only 3 people who can make me admire them. One of them is the white-robed sword god, another is the 3rd elder of the Zhou clan, and the last one is a sword cultivator rogue immortal that I met by chance. This young man is the 4th person. When Lu Yu was still in shock, Ning Fan had already taken the 2nd step. The sea of clouds within 1,000 li collapsed. The 3rd step, collapsing the sea of clouds. The 4th step, shattering the sea of clouds for 100,000 li. On the 5th step, the sword force that Lu Yu had painstakingly condensed was completely crushed by Ning Fan. Without stopping, he took the 6th, 7th, 8th and 9th steps consecutively. As he took his 9th step, his sword momentum rose to its peak at this moment. With Ning Fan's current understanding of the general trend and the real situation, the destructive power of his 9 heaven-treading steps became even more terrifying. At this moment, Ning Fan did not have a sword in his hand. However, it was exactly because he did not have a sword in his hand that his sword force had reached the peak that a void refinement realm cultivator could achieve. A light flashed in Ning Fan's mind. He felt that at this moment, he could control all low-grade flying swords that were lower than spirit-severing magical treasures, be it friend or foe. All the swords of heaven and earth, listen to my command. Ning Fan's eyes flashed with sword light, and he suddenly gave a command. The vast sword aura swept across hundreds of thousands of miles of cloudy mountain. In the blink of an eye, the flying swords of all the cultivators around Cloud Mountain trembled. As Ning Fan willed it, the flying swords of the 100,000 low-grade cultivators either flew out of their scabbards or sheaths or broke free from their storage pouches. All the flying swords at the scene were subdued by Ning Fan's sword aura. 100,000 flying swords swept across the vast sky. The sword light was like a rainbow, shocking the entire June Heaven territory. Controlling 10,000 swords. Marquis White Robe actually combined his body with the sword aura, and commanded the 10,000 swords to submit to him. Even void fragmentation realm sword cultivators might not necessarily be able to command 10,000 swords. Marquis Whiterobe is far from being a void fragmentation realm cultivator, but he can command 10,000 swords. This is just unimaginable. Lu Yu's scalp went numb. Even though he was blind and could not see the spectacular scene of Ning Fan commanding the 10,000 swords in the sky, he could feel the dense sword aura. His soft cloud sword aura was no match for Ning Fan's swordless sword aura at all. It was also very difficult for his sword light incarnation to withstand Ning Fan's next attack. Small void sword. Ning Fan raised his hand and pointed at the 100,000 low-grade flying swords. All of them shattered and turned into illusory black sword shadows. In the past he had secretly learned Marquis Yu-Gi-Oh's small void sword technique. However, he still could not comprehend this technique perfectly. At this moment, however, he could command 10,000 swords and vaguely understood the unique technique of the small void sword. What was the small void sword? It could command the void and become one sword. It could kill 1,000,000 cultivators. Fall. With a point of his finger, 100,000 void sword shadows attacked him like a rainstorm, causing Lu Yu's expression to change drastically. His sword light incarnation could block ordinary attacks. However, there were so many void sword shadows that could cut through the void. Even his incarnation could not withstand this attack. However, he could not retreat or be afraid of this step because he was a sword cultivator. If he is afraid, he would no longer be able to persist in practicing the sword for the rest of his life. I was born in the rain world. I joined the sword sect when I was 10 years old. When I was 100 years old, I destroyed my own eyes in order to cultivate the sword in peace. From then on, my heart was devoted to the sword and my heart was untainted by worldly affairs. In the past 9,000 years, I have been alone and lost too many things. The sword in my hand is the only thing that I have never lost. As long as the sword exists, I will exist. If the sword is defeated, I will die. Lu Yu's expression looked like he had gone mad. After shattering the cloud sword in his hand, he suddenly made a hand seal, and a peak mortal void realm crimson golden flying sword shot out from the red sandalwood sword box on his back. The void refinement realm was the mortal void realm, while the void fragmentation realm was the immortal void realm. Even though this crimson golden flying sword was only at the mortal void realm, it contained a trace of immortal void realm might. That trace of immortal void realm might was the result of Lu Yu's persistence for 9,000 years. This sword was called Foolishness Sword. It contained the Tao of Sword that Lu Yu had spent his entire life practicing. Lu Yu's talent in the Tao of Sword might not be as good as others, but his obsession with the sword was something that even Ning Fan and Yin Tianjue could not compare to. He raised his hand and pointed at the Foolishness Sword. His sword hand seal changed abruptly, and the body of the sword shone with dazzling sword light. The sword light divided into 2 and then into 4. Then 100 rays of sword light turned into 1,000 rays of gigantic crimson golden divine tortoises, which collided with the 100,000 sword lights. Bang! 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 Each of the sword lights was shattered, and the shadows of the crimson golden divine tortoises were destroyed. Even though the divine tortoises were destroyed, some of the sword lights still remained in the void. They turned into a sea of sword light that engulfed Lu Yu. The whistling sword lights were so oppressive that the group of cultivators found it hard to breathe. Only Ning Fan and Lu Yu could remain standing on the summit of the sea of clouds. Ning Fan stood like a boulder. He waved his hand to disperse the circles of sword lights that were collapsing. His eyes revealed a hint of respect as he stared at the sword shadows that were gradually disappearing in the void. Lu Yu did not take even half a step back, but he was severely injured. Blood flowed out from his 7 orifices. His final move was defeated by Ning Fan in the end. However, at least his Tao of Sword did not lose to Ning Fan. He managed to maintain his stance and did not retreat. Cough. Cough, I've lost, but my sword is not. It won't lose either. Lu Yu's chi was weak, and he kept coughing out blood. However, his aged face was filled with a smile. Being able to lose to a sword cultivator like Ning Fan was something worth being happy about. Being able to maintain his Tao of Sword without regrets was also something worth being happy about. You aren't weak. If I haven't broken through to the Void Inquiry stage, I might not be able to defeat you. Ning Fan said honestly. Even though his Dao was completely different from Lu Yu's Dao of sword, he more or less had a hint of respect for people who were persistent in their Dao. Marquis White Robe's abilities are astonishing. I admit my defeat wholeheartedly. I'm going to bring Marquis White Robe to the belly of the mountain to see the Rain Monument. Just as Lu Yu's voice fell, 5 angry voices suddenly came from the sword case behind him. Little Yu, you're really weak. It's a waste of our many years of guiding you in your sword techniques. You actually lost to this person. You've lost all of our faces. Humph. Big sister is not going to talk to you anymore. Humph. Second sister is not going to talk to you anymore. Humph. Third sister is not going to talk to you anymore. Humph. Fourth sister is not going to talk to you anymore. Humph. 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 Don't listen to her, Humph. She's just stuttering. She wants to say that she is not going to talk to you anymore. From today onwards, we don't want you anymore. We are going to look for a new human pet. Humph. Goodbye forever. Chi. 5 rays of sword light with different colors flew out from Lu Yu's sword case. Their speed was too fast. No one could clearly see what was inside the sword light. Lu Yu smiled bitterly. Even though these few little ancestors had a high level of sword comprehension, their minds were just like children. Now that they saw him losing to Ning Fan, they would probably feel indignant. Several thousand years ago, Lu Yu, who had just attained the Void Glimpse stage, picked up these few little ancestors in some ancient ruins of sword cultivators. During these years, if it wasn't for their guidance, he would definitely not be able to cultivate the sword light incarnation ability. However, these little ancestors were also quite annoying. They often tormented Lu Yu. Lu Yu looked at the 5 rays of sword light that were leaving. He felt both relieved and disappointed at the same time. Fortunately, he no longer had these little ancestors to torment him from now on. However, he was disappointed because he really felt a little reluctant to part with these little ancestors after getting along with them for several thousand years. Suddenly, the 5 rays of sword light changed their direction and flew towards Ning Fan's direction. Lu Yu was stunned. Could it be that these little ancestors were going to keep him as their human pet after noticing that Ning Fan's sword techniques were powerful? Ning Fan's eyes widened when he saw the 5 rays of sword light whistling towards him. Ordinary people could not see clearly what was inside the sword light, but Ning Fan could. They were 5 little girls who were only the size of a thumb. The 5 little girls were dressed in 5 different colors of gold, green, blue, red and yellow respectively. Each of them had delicate features, and they seemed to be around 11 or 12 years old. Each of them had thin dragonfly-like wings on their backs. Each of their little faces was filled with anger. These are sword spirits. Besides, they aren't the sword spirits of ordinary flying swords. They are at least the sword spirits of immortal swords. If a sword has intelligence, it would be called a sword spirit. The sword spirits of ordinary flying swords were the spiritual nature of the flying sword itself. However, the sword spirits of some immortal swords could get out of the flying sword and transform into a physical form. The 5 sword spirits were coming at Ning Fan aggressively. Before Ning Fan could ask Lu Yu about their origins, he suddenly felt a sense of danger. Among the 5 thumb-sized girls, the golden-robed little girl suddenly made a gesture with her small hands, and a vast sword essence spread out from her small body. Humph. Little Yu might have lost to you, but we won't lose to you. We will definitely teach you a good lesson. Void Slashing Sword Technique. Chi. Countless rays of sword light suddenly appeared around Ning Fan's body. The hollow space was suddenly cut open, and the scenery in front of him changed. In just an instant, he disappeared from the peak of the Sea of Clouds in the June Heaven territory, and appeared in an independent heavenly dwelling space. Even though the little girl in golden robes had a small body, her abilities were not weak. She could actually use the Void Slashing Sword Technique. The Void Slashing Sword Technique was extremely similar to the Heavenly Opening Palm Technique of Void Fragmentation Realm cultivators. Both of them were magic techniques used to open a heavenly dwelling. Normally, only Void Fragmentation Realm sword cultivators could master this technique. That little girl in golden robes did not have any magic power flowing in her body, but she could use the void fragmentation realm technique. After successfully capturing Ningfan into the heavenly dwelling space, the 5 little girls revealed a proud smile. They flapped their thin wings and flew to 5 different directions, surrounding Ningfan. Humph! You are already surrounded by us. You can't escape. You have defeated little you. We have lost a lot of face. Big sister is going to slash you 300 times to punish you. Second sister will slash you 500 times. Third sister will slash you 700 times. Fourth sister will slash you 900 times. 5. She is a stutterer. She wants to slash you 1,000 times. Ningfan's eyes turned solemn. He could feel a strong sense of danger from the 5 little girls. Besides, there was also a strange sense of familiarity. The 5 little girls were the sword spirits of immortal swords. Even though they did not have any cultivation base, just by relying on their sword intent and sword techniques alone, they could make the Great Void stage feel fearful. If the 5 little girls worked together, perhaps even an old monster at the first heavenly layer of the void fragmentation realm would have to temporarily avoid them. These 5 little girls were indeed powerful. However, it was still impossible for them to slash Ningfan. What's your relationship with Lu Yu? What's your relationship with the Great Heaven Palace? Ningfan asked with a faint smile. Humph. We have nothing to do with little Yu. He is a pet that we picked up from the streets. However, we have lost him now. As for the Great Heaven Palace, what's that? I've never heard of it. The 5 little girls said arrogantly. It has nothing to do with Lu Yu and the Great Heaven Palace? I haven't even heard of the name of the Great Heaven Palace before. Ningfan's eyes flashed with a hint of a smile. If that's the case, no one would have any objections if I capture these 5 sword spirits, right? Sword spirits are good stuff. By keeping them in a flying sword, they can improve the divine abilities of the flying sword. Besides, they can also help to refine the flying sword and increase its power. Some of the sword spirits even mastered some of their previous masters' sword techniques and divine abilities. If these 5 sword spirits are immortal swords, I wonder if they have mastered some high-grade sword techniques. Besides, these 5 sword spirits are quite powerful. If I can subdue them, they can serve as some of my combat power. He even dared to capture the messenger of the heavenly tribulation. What could 5 sword spirits of immortal swords do to him? All of you belong to me. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.